أمنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Tonight's session is a bit different from last night and from Saturday evening. We're not going to be speaking on the compilation of the Sunnah and its history, compilation of Hadith and its history. Rather, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we'll be taking the second phase of our intensified course, and that is regarding commentary. First of all is reading. Secondly is commentary. Thirdly, occasional explanation. ثمة فرق بين الشرح والتعليق أو شرح وتعليق. With regards to the book عوائق الطلب لفضيلة الشيخ عبد السلام ibn برجس ibn ناصر آل عبد الكريم عليه رحمة الله. The book which is called عوائق الطلب, which was translated to mean obstacles in the path of seeking knowledge. The author is the late Sheikh Abdul Salam ibn Barjas Abdul Kareem. May Allah have mercy upon his soul. He died a few years back, supposedly in a car accident, I believe in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I never got a chance to meet the author in person. However, when I was in Medina, I got a chance to benefit a lot from his recorded lessons, many of his books. Rather, before Medina, when I was actually in Philadelphia, before I had left to Saudi Arabia, I'd heard about him and benefited from many of his recordings and books as well. So that being said, the name of the book is called Awaiq al-Talab. Awaiq al-Talab. Obviously, those who study Arabic know Awaiq is going to be the plural of Aiq. Or Aiqah of al-Talab. يعني طلب العلم. Seeking knowledge. Seeking hadith, learning and studying, etc. Now, before we get started with the actual book, we lay down a few brief principles, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, which will benefit us all, hopefully. First principle is, before we actually get into the book, before we even actually get into the actual introduction of the book, a few basic principles. First is in being, we all know the importance of seeking knowledge. We all know the virtue of seeking knowledge. And most of us, I believe, know that there's a proper way to seek knowledge, just like there's an improper way to seek knowledge. Most of us know this, walillahi alhamd, based off of the efforts that many people have put forth. Efforts of scholars, ulama, mashayikh, efforts of talabat ilm, du'at, efforts of a'imma, khutaba, leaders of masjids, khatibs, da'is. It's well known the efforts that have been put forth with regards to the proper way of seeking knowledge and the improper way of seeking knowledge, the virtue of knowledge, the excellence of knowledge, the superiority of what? Of knowledge. But as we said before, that seeking ilm is a path which isn't short and which isn't necessarily easy. It isn't simple. Seeking knowledge, many aspects of it is very challenging. Very challenging. Maybe even difficult. Some aspects may even seem impossible. Certain levels. As we mentioned from the kalam of Ibn Abdul Barr rahimahullah, and also it's going to come in the book as well. He says that talab al-ilm, he says manaqil wa darajat. There's levels, stations, chambers of ilm. It's not just one level. Certain things are simple and easy, clear. Other things are challenging. Some things are difficult. Some things may even seem impossible. So with that being said, with regards to the importance and the virtue and the excellence of ilm, and there is a way to seek ilm, and a proper way and an improper way, the generality of those points aren't enough, aren't sufficient. We have to know in detail the proper way of seeking ilm. And we have to know the improper way of seeking ilm. We understand the general points, that's clear, the virtue of ilm. We understand the general way of the proper way of seeking ilm. Be sincere, travel, this, start off with that, etc. And many of us, if not most of us, also understand the general points of the improper way of seeking ilm. Stay away from this will mess you up, this will destroy your career in general. However, the tafsil or the tafsilat, tafasil, the details, the subtleties, the intricacies, the finely tuned points are the things that the real students of knowledge need and thrive off of. The general principle, the specifics, and the third level we said is the finely small things, daqiq. Okay, and that's what separates you from good, great, and elite. That's what separates from you doing something on the side, a hobby, and it being your profession, it being your career, it being your dream. That's what separates someone loving a thing and someone being in love with that thing. There's a difference. Hopefully these words are understood by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with regards to studying and learning, the generalities, they are the principles without a question. It's the foundation. And then you learn the details. And then if you want to continue to study and learn and increase and enhance and mature, you must, bi idhnillahi ta'ala, learn the finely tuned things. And that is the purpose of this, bi idhnillahi ta'ala, 3-day workshop. The purpose of this 3-day workshop is to learn what not to do, but not in general, in detail. Bi idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the book that we've chosen is considered to be our platform, our springboard, our launch pad. Doesn't mean that's the only thing that we're going to mention and speak about, but this is considered to be the asl, the basis. Bi idhnillahi ta'ala. We all know that oftentimes things become clear from their opposites. Things become clear from their opposites. One way of defining something or explaining something is actually speak on what it is, to talk about what it is. And oftentimes it's easier and simpler to tell a person what not to do. And tell a person what? What not to do. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, and you'll be fine. And this is a prophetic style. This is a prophetic style. The man asked the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar, was collected in a Sahih, Thabit of Sahih. He says, Ma yalbasul muhrim. What should the pilgrim wear? What can the pilgrim wear? What to wear when I make Hajj and Umrah? The Prophet ﷺ never answered this question how he was asked. He says, La yalbasul muhrim. He says the muhrim, the pilgrim, is not to wear this. He's not to wear that. He's not to wear this. And at the end, the narration of Ibn Umar, one of them says, وَلَا تَنْتَقِبُ الْمَرْأَةُ الْمُحْرِمَةُ. And a woman who's in ihram is not to wear the niqab. She's not to wear the gloves, not to wear burnus, not to wear sirwal, not to wear qamis, etc. What's mentioned in the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar. So the shahid, the highlighting point from the hadith, is that the Prophet ﷺ, he explained to this man one of the most important aspects of one of the most important pillars of Islam through its opposite. He says what the muhrim is not to wear. And he never ever told him what the muhrim what? Should wear, let alone has to wear. So what do I do when I go to Medina, you ask me? How do I be successful? What should I do? Who should I sit with? Who should I learn with? What should I eat? How many hours? Nah. Don't do this. Stay away from that. Stay away from this. Khalas. Assalamu alaikum. Don't call me. Don't email me. Don't WhatsApp me until you have graduated. If you follow the points that I gave you to avoid the things that I told you to avoid, by Allah's permission, bidhnillahi, al-wahid al-ahad, you'll be successful. So oftentimes you become successful and you learn what a thing is, or you learn what to do through the what? Through the opposites, what not to do. Everything other than that, bismillah, you can do. Right, about clearness or not? And it's very important, especially in the culture in which we live in 2018, in the East, but we're talking about our countries, focusing on our lands in the Western countries. What speaker should I listen to? What speaker can I listen to? What speaker can I take from? Who can I listen to? Who can I benefit from? You can benefit from this one and this one, this one, this one. Sometimes that's good. Benefit from those who have this quality and that quality and that quality. Sometimes that's good. But sometimes it becomes easier, simpler, and most importantly, more comprehensive to say anyone saying this, anyone calling you to that, anyone promoting this, anyone who lacks this value, don't listen to. And that gives a greater option remaining. So it's not restricted to this person, to this site, to this one, to that one. General. As long as you avoid the pitfalls, then there's no way you can lose. Everybody understand this? But if I say certain things to follow and do, then it becomes, you automatically feel more what? You feel constricted, you feel claustrophobic now. I can only listen to these. I can only go here and this. I can only study here and this. You feel more claustrophobic. You can do whatever you want to do, as long as you don't fall into kada. Everybody understand this? So oftentimes it's important, Hisham, for us to, to reverse it. The reversal of the rule. This is the proper observance of it, and now this is the what? Reversal of it. Khairan, inshallah ta'ala, extremely important in your studies. That's number one. Number two, with regards to the books of Talib al-Ilm, the adab, the manners of the student of knowledge, the proper etiquette of the Talib al-Ilm, of the Talib al-Hadith, the books are very important for you to, number one, obtain. Number two, read, study, memorize, review. Last but not least is for you to be familiar with those books. And when it comes to the books of the adab of Talib al-Ilm, then there are basically, I would say, 3 to 4 main categories of these books. 3 to 4 main categories. And there are other ways of categorizing the books, but let's say 3 to 4 main ways. The first way the first way of categorizing the books is with regards to time. The chronological order of the authors, the timeline of the books. We have books which will be considered classical books. Classical books of adab, fada'il, talib al-ilm. Classic books. Or classical, excuse me. Then after classical, we would have later books. Books of scholars who came later on. And among the books of the scholars who came later on are those which are classics, but they're not classical. There's a difference. You understand this? Between those two words. Classic could be modern. Classical is automatically, in most cases. Tayyib. And then we have, mathalan, current day books, modern day books. So an example of a classic book, a classical book would be, Samir, Al-Rihla fi Talib al-Hadith, authored by Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, rahimahullah. What year did he die in? What century was he from? 5th century, Al-Qarn al-Khamis, Ahsant. He died in the 5th century. So we have books older than him or not? Such as? By Abi Dawud, La Hada Dimn al-Sunan. Hada Dimn al-Sunan. That's included in the books of hadith. It's not, ليس مفردا. نتكلم عن المصنفات الخاصة المفردة. He died in the same year. Ibn Abdul Barr, 460. That was your first answer. Kitab al-Ilm by An-Nasa'i, Zuhair ibn Harb, huh? طيب, Abi Khaythama, naam. The Kitab al-Ilm, what year did he die in? What qarn did he die in? What century? La. 3rd. Ahsant. طيب. So that's an example of a what? Classical book. Very, very old. Talking about what to do, what not to do, the virtues of ilm, etc. Al-Khatib, rahimahullah, Ibn Abdul Barr, rahimahullah, their respective works, their monumental works, are also considered to be from the classical era as well. And then we have the books of Man Ta'akhar, those who came later on from that classical era, such as the book of Ibn al-Jama'ah, who died in what century? 8th. طيب. Or someone a little before him, but not in the time of Khatib and Ibn Abdul Barr, An-Nawawi, At-Tibyan. He died in what century? 7th. We said yesterday and we said Saturday that history and knowledge, history and hadith are like what? I gave you this principle. History is like what? Even if it's general. Even if it's what? General. I don't know the exact year, but I know the century, the qarn in general. And it helps you gauge. You see the benefit of it now. Naam? So An-Nawawi rahimahullah, he died 676 in the 7th century. So mathalan, an example of this, he wouldn't necessarily be considered to be from the classical era. He would be from the later era. That has nothing to do with his books being classics or not. Ibn al-Jama'ah, Tadhkirat al-Sami' wal-Mutakallim fi Adab. Ahsan, طيب. And then we have Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, Miftah Dar al-Sa'ada, for example. Even though he came after Nawawi. He died what year? Or what century? Ibn al-Qayyim? La, not the 9th. 8th century. Ahsan, what year? 752. Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, we didn't have to get into Ibn Taymiyyah's books. His books full of the etiquettes of seeking ilm. But we're talking about books that were specifically authored. Just on the what? On the topic. How about this? Dhahabi's books, طيب. Then after the later day scholars, we have the what? Contemporary, such as Kitab al-Ilm, Ibn Uthaymeen, good. Or Al-Hilya, Sheikh Bakr, rahimahullah. Or Awaq al-Talab, Abdul Salam Burgess. Naam. Everybody clear on this or not? And then we also have books that are written by actual current day living scholars as we speak. Khair, inshallah. The point is clear. That's with regards to timeline, chronological order. Then the next way of categorizing the books of Talab al-Ilm. So when you want to build a library, commonly asked question, how do I build a library? What books to start with? What books to buy first? One of the ways and styles of building a library is dealing with it from the aspect of history. I go to the bookstore and I find the oldest books on Adab Talab al-Ilm, buy them first. Does this mean these are the books that I'm reading at the time? Does this mean my Arabic is good enough to read this one's book? Doesn't necessarily mean that. We're not talking about studying the books yet. We're talking about building the library. Am I clear on this? One of the most commonly asked questions and one of the biggest pitfalls that many brothers make when they come to Medina. One of the biggest pitfalls is building a library, not building a library, buying books properly or improperly. You have brothers who have a lot of money, many pounds, British pounds. They spent buying a huge library, but he bought it the wrong way, in the incorrect way, without the proper order. We're not even getting to, did he study? Is he going to study? We're talking about actually purchasing. Everybody clear on this? Many brothers come from Canada, America. They don't buy books at all. There's no need for books. Kalas, I got the PDF right here. What do I need to spend money for? You know how much money it costs to get my books shipped from Saudi Arabia to America? You know how many boxes of books I want to have? From being there 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, 11 years. It runs to a lot of books. It's a lot of tonnage. It's a lot of weight. So just have the PDF, the electronic version. There's no need to buy any books, let alone study them, let alone read them. And then there are those who are in the middle. Everybody understand this? So one of the ways of stacking your library and buying it is starting off with one subject. Right now, the first month in Medina, my first month overseas, my first 3 months, I'm only going to spend money on books on Adab Talab al-Ilm. Faqat, that's it. And I'm going to get all of the books to the best of my ability. And I'm going to start off with the oldest and work my way up to the modern time. With no restriction on how much money I have to spend. I have a good amount of money. I'm just going to go all out. So it's one of the ways of building your library. Is dealing with it from the issue of the chronological what? Order. Everybody clear on this? That's one way. Another way is to look at from the other taqsim, the other categorization of these types of books. There are books which are, number one, musnadah, books that have the asanid, the chains of narration, in which everything, well, not everything, but most of what's being said in these books is reported with a sanad, with a chain of reporters. With a what? Chain of reporters. From the author to the person who's saying it. Whether it's the Prophet, whether it's Ibn Mas'ud, whether it's Sufyan, Thawri, etc. Everybody understand this? Such as what books? Jami'u Bayan al-Ilmi wa Fadlihi, Ibn Abdul Barr. So that's also an example of a book of what? That you can use for what? Takhrij. You say, Akhrajahu Ibn Abdul Barr fi al-Jami'. Rawahu Ibn Abdul Barr bi sanadin sahih. Because he has a sanad directly going back to the Prophet in that book. And you won't say, Akhrajahu an-Nawawi fi Tibyan. Because Nawawi's not quoting the sanad in that book. Everybody got this? We explained this. We said this the other day. Very important. Tight. With that being said, another example of those types of books is what? Al-Jami' lil-Khatib li-Akhlaq al-Rawi wa Adab al-Sami', in which is all of it is musnad, or Kitab al-Ilm, or وهكذا. وعلى هذا فقس. وعلى هذا إيش؟ فقس. Use that as your template. Clear on that? So a person can say, I'm going to start off by building my library, studying the books or obtaining the books with those that have the asanid. I want to be a person of hadith. I want to specialize in hadith. Everybody clear on this? Or a person can start off another way. A third way is start off with the ummahat, the mother books. The mother books, the most important books, the most substantial books. And then from there, he goes off to the current day books, the later books, which are basically all based off of the what? The mother books. Everything comes from the mother. Everybody understand this? She gives birth. And the family branches off. Everybody says the books of hadith. We said that the 3rd century is the golden era. Everybody understand this? Most of those other books are based off of or related or connected one way or another from the what? That 3rd century. Everybody clear on this or not? So I want to focus on buying them other books first. And then the Mukhtasar, then the Manzuma, then the Sharh Fulan. Ibn Uthaymeen's book is based off of this. Bakr Abu Zayd's book is based off of that. Wahakadha. Everybody clear on this or not? And another way of building your library with regards to Kutub Adab Talab al-Ilm is starting off with the books that you're actually studying. The Sheikh Fulan, he has the Dars on this in the Haram. Sheikh Alan, he has the Dars on this at his house, at his own personal masjid. And the university's Musalla. Tayyib, he has the Dars on this book. A Dawra. Qiblatain. Wahakadha. Tayyib. He did a sharh of it. Sheikh Fulan has a sharh of it. I'm listening to this one online, and that's how you start off. Ibn Abdul Barr's book, who's explaining that right now? So it's need for me to buy it. There's no need for me to buy it right now. Mathalan. Al-Jami' lil-Khatib. Who's explaining this book? Who's even dealing with this book? There's no need for me to what? Buy the book right now. That's not necessarily the best way of thinking, but it is a way. Hopefully that's clear. Everybody understand this? And the same applies to books of hadith, books of fiqh, books of aqidah, books of lughah. There's different ways of building and stacking your what? Your library. Everybody clear on this? As far as studying the books, what is the proper manhaji of studying the books? Then it's any book or any type of book or the books in general. It's crucial for you to understand as a student of knowledge that they aren't the same. They aren't all the same. They aren't all equal. They aren't meant to be. Different types of books, just like a toolbox. A hammer is not like a drill gun. A screwdriver is not like a file. Many of us, we wish to force the file to be like a screwdriver. That's a khata. It's just not, it's a different tool. Everybody understand this? It has a different purpose, a different usage. The more professional the carpenter, the plumber is, no doubt, he knows his tools what? Even better. He has different types of hammers, different types of drill guns, different types of screwdrivers. He has screwdrivers long, short, Phillips. This one, a screwdriver with regards to it being electrocuted. He has a finely detailed section of his toolkit just for what? Screwdrivers. And he tells the apprentice or the beginner, no, don't touch that. Don't fiddle with my stuff. Because he just looks at the screwdrivers. Screwdrivers. Everybody understand this? This is the concept of life. Why do we think it's different when it comes to Islam, when it comes to seeking knowledge? The book of Sheikh Fulan is just like the book of Sheikh Alan. No, it's a critical error. And it's going to cause you to fall into misunderstanding, misquoting, mispractice. So there are certain books with regards to adab talab al-ilm which are to be memorized. Yuhfadh or tuhfadh, memorized and reviewed. And you constantly go back to this one book. And there are other books which are meant just to be read. In which you say, or you can say, I've read the book, I completed it. Best. And there are other books that are only used not to be memorized, not to be read. They're only used for reference. When you're doing a project, when you're doing a bahth, an essay, you have a khutbah to prepare, you need an athar. I read one day that Imam Ahmed said this and he said that. Let me go back to it, or let me see where I can find this statement. Some people say that Imam Ahmed, when he was sick, when he was dying, he made 250 raka'ah a day. Nafila. Not when he was healthy and strong, when he was sick and dying, he reduced his extra prayers to 250. It's a lot, When he's sick. How many healthy people pray like that? Is that the sunnah? That's not the point. I'm not going to get into that right now. The point is, where do I find this statement or the story of Imam Ahmed? So you may go back to the shelf in the section of Adab, Talab al-Ilm, the Muhaddithin, and look for it and search for it. It's only meant for referencing. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this or not? So we have books that are made to be memorized. Books that are made to be read once. Books that are made to be continually read. Books that are only there for what? Reference. Only there for reference. Everybody clear on this or not? Using when you need them, and then they go back on the shelf. Also, as we said, with regards to the books of Talab al-Ilm, there are those which are long and extensive, exhaustive. There are those that are short, Kutayyibat, Rasail, short and sweet, quick, easy. There are certain books that are written in a very understandable, intelligible language. And there are other books in which the language is burdensome. It's very high, eloquent writing style. And it has nothing to do with the error. You may find a book of Khatib al-Baghdadi easier than the book of Bakr Abu Zayd. If you actually read the book of Bakr Abu Zayd, his lugha is not simple, easy lugha. Anyone who's really actually read the book, all of Sheikh Bakr Rahimahullah's books, his language was no joke. It was no joke. And many brothers overseas, they find it very difficult reading and understanding his books. So you have to understand how the author writes his books. A Nawawi speech, fi ghayat as-suhula. Simple, easy, sweet. You never want to put down a book of Nawawi, ever. Any book that he writes, his writing style was muwaffaq, jiddan. He was very fortunate to be given a smoothly flowing pen. There are other people, his language is not like that. So you have to understand this as well. Also, with regards to the books of Talab al-Ilm, certain books are to be read to a teacher, Sheikh, Ustad, whoever, someone who's qualified. And there are other books which are designed and geared for you to read them by yourself. You understand this? There's designed for you to what? Read them by yourself. You don't need a teacher for this book. The author is telling you in the introduction, I wrote this book for the Talib al-Ilm to read it. And the author is telling you in the introduction, nothing. Or the author may tell you in the introduction that this is a training manual for an instructor and a trainer. Everybody understand this? And it's going to be a capital mistake to take this one that's made for this and Johnny isn't necessarily absolute. There are certain things that were written for a specific time. And certain things, not all things, which are outdated. Life is not like that anymore. The students aren't like this anymore. The ulama aren't like this anymore. The countries aren't like this anymore. And you have to understand that. The author was from a country and a time and a place. Some books, certain things in certain books, no question, are timeless, universal. Wherever you go, it's all the same. Whatever time period you're in, it's all the what? All the same. So Muslims living as minorities, Muslims living as the majority, it's all the same. Everybody understand this? And there are certain things which are made for what? Specific place and time. Know that. Certain things are absolute, no question. Certain principles in the books of Adab al-Ilm, they don't change. This is what it is. And there are certain things which must change. And there are situations, this is the asl, that's the default. Reading it like this, studying like that, don't travel until you're this age, that's the asl. But there are certain situations and scenarios in which you go against the asl. And this is very important when you study fiqh and usul al-fiqh and qawaid fiqh, that the qawaid have istithna'at. There are exceptions to these major rules. There are exceptions to what? To rules. Everybody clear on this or not? Tayyib. Also is the writing style of the authors. There's some of the people of knowledge who wrote books just with the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, or the hadith of the Prophet and the kalam of the Sahaba and the Tabi'een. That's it. The Salaf. Certain people, they quoted from other scholars who came later on. Naam? Everybody understand this? Let alone the fact that the other books of hadith, or just books in general, like Bukhari, all of the major books of hadith have a chapter of knowledge. Sunan Abi Dawood, which alhamdulillah we explained here in Abu Huraira Center, Kamilan, wa lillahi alhamd. Tirmidhi, Muslim, Bukhari, the main books have a chapter on ilm. And that's a whole nother long discussion, how to study those books, how to benefit from those books. Right now we're just talking about the separate authored works. Khairan, inshallah. Last but not least, what we're going to read in this book and many books, if you read a statement of a sahabi, or a statement of a tabi'i, or a statement of an alim, Ibn al-Jawzi, he said this, Ibn Qayyim said you can't do this, that's improper. None of these people, without any disrespect to any of them, none of them are Muhammad. None of them are the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ, as we said, and we keep repeating this point because it's crucially important to be successful when you go overseas, and living in Canada as well, is that Muhammad's words, rather the Quran al-Kareem, there is a science of what? Tafsir, asbab nuzul. There's am, there's khas, there's mujmal, there's mubayyan, there's nasikh, there's mansukh. All of these things are in the Quran. The speech of Allah Azza wa Jal. There's a proper way of understanding it, and there's a proper way of what? Interpreting it. Everybody clear on this? The Prophet said in speech, if everything the Prophet said was directly to this point or black and white, there would be no Fath al-Bari. There would be no Tamheed, Sharh Muwatta. So if this is the speech of Allah and the speech of the Prophet, فَمَا ظَنُّكَ, what do you think about the speech of a Sahabi or Nawawi or Thawri or this one or that one? If Muhammad's speech is understood and interpreted, certain things are clear and simple. Certain things need interpretation and understanding. Everybody clear on this or not? If that's the speech of the Prophet of Islam, if that's the Quran, then what is the speech with regards to Imam Ahmad, or thodi, or this one or that one. So many of us, we've been afflicted with this disease of taking things absolutely to the T, as if they were hujjah. It's not legal authority, it's not dalil. What Ibn Uyayna, rahimahullah, said, that great alim, is not a dalil. If it's in accordance with the kitab and the sunnah, then it's a beautiful thing to take. It helps you, it assists you. If it's against the kitab and the sunnah, then we say what? Rahimahullah Sufyan. Allah have mercy upon him. Kitab and sunnah. Everybody understand this or not? Everybody clear this or not? Very important for us to understand this. Everybody understand this? Let alone the fact that it isn't a dalil in itself, is that there are times in which the speech of Ibn Uyayna or this one or that one is what? Understood and interpreted. Last but not least is, with regards to what we find in these books of athar and things like this, if you want to take to the T what Imam Ahmad said regarding seeking knowledge and talab al-hadith, then what should you do? You should take all of it. Take the whole entire way of Imam Ahmad or Ibn Uyayna, and not just that which is convenient and simple, that which suits your desires. Everybody clear on this? That's one of the major problems that we have in the world today. It's not just the Western countries. I don't believe in that speech. I don't believe that that's correct. People always try to bash the Western countries. It's a problem with zina in this country. It's a problem with divorce. It's all around the world. Are certain places worse? Yes, no question. Were we saying that Canada is like Saudi with regards to certain problems? No. No one with two eyes would say that. But there are certain things which are what? Universal epidemics. Everybody clear on this? And you don't just keep bashing the Western country. You live here, you go there, you'll see the same thing, if not worse. Muslims not praying. Allah are they Muslims? Everybody understand the point we're trying to get to? This is widespread problems. Everybody clear on this? So misunderstanding the speech of the ulama, abusing the speech of the ulama, misunderstanding the speech of the Salaf al-Salih, abusing it, even that which is properly understood, but just abusing it. This is the correct understanding of Ibn Uyayna's kalam. No doubt, that's what he said. Clear as that. But it's not a dalil. And if it was a dalil, you cannot abuse it and use it and force it upon someone, let alone the other things that Sufyan ibn Uyayna what? Did. Like praying all night, fasting every day, giving sadaqah, visiting the orphans, visiting the widows. وَهَكَذَا. I understand this? Wallahi, we haven't seen you do anything of the other things that Ibn Uyayna used to do. But in the car, he said what? Or even worse than that, if I can't even pronounce his name. This is a problem. This is a what? It's a problem. It's a huge problem that we've been afflicted with. Only Allah knows how many bright students, talented brothers and sisters became lost. Went overseas, became lost. They came back as a wrath upon their communities, a wrath upon their families. And this is one of the stigmas that we live with now. They say, I don't want my son going overseas. Look what happened to him. I don't want my daughter going and studying. Look what happened to her. I don't want this. No, you got to finish school first. You have to do this first. They try to divert you from the path because of the bitter taste that many people have experienced. My son was a beautiful son. He would sit with me, eat breakfast with me. We would read the Quran together. He went overseas. He came back. Everything's haram. Everything's bid'ah. Everything's shirk. I'm an evil, sinful, horrible woman. You don't think she has girlfriends, older sisters she talks to, crying to? This is what happened to my son. They brainwashed my son. And then she's going to say the same to you when you say, I want to go overseas. This is dangerous. So you have to be very careful of this. Khair, inshallah. Those are the most important muqaddimat that we wish to mention right now. Let's get started. It says here that the book was printed in 1413, An-Nashratul Ula. This says this was the first print of the book in 1413. The book is printed by Dar al-Asima and Dar al-Hadith, both in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The author mentions the brief introduction, where the book came from. He wrote it in 1412. And the goal is, bid'nillahi ta'ala, we have 106 pages here. The goal is, if Allah allows us, to finish the entire reading of the book and the entire commentary and explanation and course, hopefully, bid'nillahi ta'ala, in 2 days. Bid'nillah, tonight and tomorrow, to finish early. Inshallah, the way on Wednesday, we can make review or something else, whatever the case may be. We want to, bid'nillahi ta'ala, move, inshallah. Tayyib? So, if I talk a little fast, or I read a little fast, or if it's a bit difficult, this and that, please try your best to be patient, inshallah ta'ala. Khairan, and this is the energy with which you run an intensive course. الدورات العلمية المكثفة in Saudi, they was not slow and simple, they're flying through the metin because they have a goal. That's why it's intensive. And then the normal regular classes are هكذا. خير inshallah. So let's get started with the introduction. بإذن الله تعالى. Our first volunteer will be, who volunteers to read? Anybody? So you guys want me to speak and read and explain? It's not a bit. طيب خير إن شاء الله. بسم الله. مجلة المجاهد. نهضتنا. سقطها ليكون. ويعين. ويأخذ. أنفسنا. وختمتها. كتبه. طيب جزاك الله خيرا وبارك الله فيك. أحسنتي. The introduction, the author basically says the reason why he wrote the book. سبب تأليف الكتاب. He wrote the book to protect the youth, the young students, from falling into these pitfalls and these obstacles which will destroy, ruin, or at best minimize their careers and the benefit from their careers of studying and seeking knowledge. He says, النهضة, this revolution of ilm, this age of awareness, of enlightenment, in which students from so many different countries all around the world all want to come and seek knowledge and study, learn about the hadith, the deen, the salaf, hadith, هكذا, of the modern era, the modern age. Perfect example of this, Saudi Arabia. Whether it's Islamic University of Medina, Al-Qura, Jamiat al-Imam, Ibn Saud, whatever the case may be. You have people in your class from every corner of the world, all with the same thirst and hunger and passion to learn, to study, and inshallah ta'ala to benefit their people. That's not an easy, small, simple thing. It's a major, major, major movement in which we're living in its shade to this day. We're living in its shade to this day. Right now, we're living in its shade of those efforts, those sacrifices, those struggles, millions, if not billions of dollars that were spent on printing books, universities, this, that, conferences, كل شيء. So the numbers are there, the students are there, the hunger is there, the thirst is there. However, it's all over the place. It's hectic. It needs to be refined. It needs to be managed. Everybody understand this? It's not enough just gathering everybody in a room, and it has to be organized. And we have to teach the students what to stay away from. Because the people, they love knowledge, they want to study, but they're doing things that are horrible, terrible, awful, saying things, don't have the proper manners, etiquettes with themselves, with the law, with their teachers, with dawah, with their families. Everybody understand this? Is recklessness. Everybody understand this? So this is why the author wrote this book. He's ishfaq, compassion. I feel sorry. I don't want this to be like this. These students, these are my sons, my daughters. Everybody understand this? I want them to do it the proper way, bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everybody clear on this? So this is why he wrote the book, and that's very important. Then the author, rahimahullah ta'ala, he talks about the asl of the book, how it was originally a magazine, articles in a magazine, Al-Mujahid magazine, in 1409. Naam, 1409. Tayyib? And this goes to show you, speaking directly to the sisters right now, specifically, is that you never ever know where your article may land. Where your article that you wrote, you never know, it could be put in a book one day. Who's going to read that book? Who's going to benefit from that book? You never know. Don't ever scorn yourself. Don't ever scorn yourself. Do you think, honestly, that the Sheikh had an idea or a thought that his book will be studied years after his death in Canada at 8:30 p.m. at night? And it was nothing more than an idea for a magazine in Saudi Arabia. Please write some articles on this and on that. Tayyib. He put the articles together, he wrote it, and then he has a book that's been translated, that's been studied. You're going to pass it on to people. How many rewards, inshallah, is he going to get? So don't ever scorn yourself. Don't ever look down upon yourself. You never know where your article, where your book, where your review, where your documentary will land. You don't know that. Everybody clear on this? So with that being said, he talks about why he wrote the book, Tayyib. And he talks about how he wrote the book and major points. He says the points, the headings, okay? He says, and in the chapters, in the points, there's more than enough information to avoid that problem. And he says, I made a great deal of quotation from the Salaf al-Salih in order for the student to be connected to them, and understanding the religion and seeking ilm upon their way. Then he goes on to say, because they were more guided and they were more pious. Khairan, inshallah, with regards to taking the example of the early Muslims. And he says, and in the end I added a supplement. Naam, I added a supplement to the book, an index or an appendix, whatever you would like to call it, with regards to the kalam of Sheikh Abdurrahman ibn Sa'di, rahimahullah, the author of the tafsir, in which he had beautiful speech, beautiful gems, some of them we read, with regards to the etiquettes of teachers and the etiquettes of learners. He added that as a supplement to his book. Khairan, inshallah. Tayyib. And this book, or that was written in 1412. Let's get started with al-Ariq al-Awwal. Bismillah. Who's our reader? Bismillah. Tataraham al-Muallif. Seek mercy, the Allah's mercy for the author. You benefit from his book. The least you can do.
المؤمنين أبي حفص عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى فمن كانت هجرته إلى الله ورسوله فهجرته إلى الله ورسوله ومن كانت هجرته لدنيا يصيبها أو امرأة ينكحها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. وعن ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه أنه قال لو أن أهل العلم صانوا العلم ووضعوه عند أهله لسادوا به أهل زمانهم ولكنهم بذلوه لأهل الدنيا لينالوا به من دنياهم فهانوا عليهم.
طيب, the first obstacle or the first pitfall is seeking knowledge for other than the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's to seek knowledge for other than the face of Allah Azza wa Jal. To seek knowledge with the improper intention, the incorrect intention. In brief, this pitfall here is dangerous from two aspects. One is the worldly loss, the worldly failure. And secondly, and more dangerous than that, is the hereafter. Waliyadu billah. The hereafter. We've explained this concept in detail in our explanation on 40 hadith on seeking knowledge. The hadith of Huraira, about the first 3 types of people that hellfire will be set to ablaze for. So please go back for the detailed explanation to that book. What we say here is that you'll lose in this life and also in the hereafter. Secondly is, seeking knowledge for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has many reasons, many different colors, forms and shapes, sizes, and manifestations. Seeking knowledge for money, seeking knowledge for women, seeking knowledge for a brother to marry me. He thinks that I'm studious. Seeking knowledge just to please my parents. Seeking knowledge to show my superiority over you. I'm smarter than you. Many, many manifestations of this first obstacle is not having the proper intention, or with a more accurate wording is seeking knowledge for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the proper intention is different. It's something else. I'm sincere for Allah, but it doesn't mean I have the proper intention. Other intentions to seek ilm. I want to seek knowledge just for myself, just for me to learn. Go to Saudi Arabia, I buy a huge, gigantic library, and I just sit in my house, and that's it. That's the improper intention as well. Even though the person is not doing it to show off. It's a difference here. It's a subtle difference here. He's not doing it for the people's praise. He's doing it for the face of Allah. But it doesn't mean his intention for ilm, seeking ilm, learning, buying books and studying is proper as well. If you don't seek knowledge with the purpose of teaching and benefiting and helping and fighting in Allah's cause by spreading that ilm, then your intention is improper as well. Everybody understand this is very dangerous, and the shaitan can trick you. So sincerity is one thing, and proper intention in the other aspects is something else. Khairun inshallah. And we said there are many manifestations, many sizes, shapes, colors, forms, and figures of seeking knowledge for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Very important point before we move forward and explaining the actual text is beware of accusing someone of this. And this is also a very widespread problem among many people who claim to follow the ulama, claim to follow the Salaf al-Salih. One of the most distinguishing features is that they always is a tadakhul fin niyat. Talk about someone's intentions. You meant this. You're only doing it for this. You love to be recorded. You love to be on camera. You love. Billahi alayk, how do you know what's in my heart? It's very dangerous. Only Allah Azza wa Jal knows. Alimun bidhati sudur. He knows what's in the hearts. وَحُسِّلَ مَا فِي الصُّدُورِ Yani, يَوْمَ إِذٍ, that day. What's in the hearts will be what? وَهَكَذَا. So it's very dangerous accusing someone of being insincere. You're not sincere, you're just doing it to show off. You're not sincere, you're just doing it for money. You're not sincere, you're just doing it for this. You focus on your own niyyah. That's more than enough for you to fight and struggle on, is your own sincerity. Firstly, after sincerity, we said what? Proper intention. To teach, to do this, to make a change. وَهَكَذَا. The author starts off with the famous hadith of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. The first hadith in 40 hadith Nawawi. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Deeds in Islam are only significant because of intentions. Intentions. And every man will receive that which he intended. He whose hijrah was for Allah and His Messenger, then his hijrah will be for Allah and His Messenger. And he whose hijrah was for worldly purposes or to marry a woman, then his hijrah will be to that which he migrated to. Inshallah ta'ala, a brother will be kind enough to grab my book out of my bag. Inshallah, we'll have someone read from the translation really quickly. They won't have to retranslate everything again. Inshallah, it can just be commentary. Bidnai ta'ala. With that being said, the hadith of Umar al-Khattab is well known. It's been explained by many people. As far as myself, we've explained it for the hadith on seeking knowledge. Explain it, the Sharh of Imam Nawawi's for the hadith as well. The detailed explanation. Then he quotes Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. He said, لو أن أهل العلم صانوا العلم. Listen carefully. He says, if the people of knowledge protected knowledge. Ibn Mas'ud is in the time of the Sahaba. He's saying that there was a kharq, there's a gap, there's a fissure, a crack, in the castle wall here. Pay attention. In the time of who? Ibn Mas'ud. What about what? 2018. 1,000 years. What would Ibn Mas'ud say today? He says, if the people of knowledge had protected knowledge, صانوا العلم, looked after it, took care of it, وَوَضَعُوهُ عِنْدَ أَهْلِهِ, and if they would have placed this knowledge among its true people, those who are deserving and worthy, لَسَادُوا بِهِ أَهْلَ زَمَانِهِمْ, then they will be the leaders of their time. وَلَكِنَّهُمْ بَذَلُوهُ لِأَهْلِ الدُّنْيَا. Instead, they only did it, they only gave it, they only learned it and spread it for the people of the world. Secular gain. to gain from this dunya, فَهَانُوا عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. So therefore, the people didn't have any respect for them. This is a well-known principle of life. If you're in my pocket, it's not much respect I'm going to have for you. I own you. Everybody understand this? It's the first thing that happens at the masjid when there's a difference between the imam and the board. The scholar, the resident scholar and the board. The first thing that people say is, you're our employee. Let's not get it twisted here. We pay you, we take care of you, we feed you. You're not in control of us. And this is not everybody, nor is it every masjid, nor is it every board. We're talking about the dunya-minded people in general. So when someone is feeding you and paying for you and taking care of you, that's one thing. Let alone if you're trying to get close to someone using a religion to gain dunya, to curry someone's favor through ilm, just to get some worldly fatty bone, mirmatain, hasanatain. The Prophet said, if the munafiqs knew, they get a fatty bone, not a whole sheep, lamb chops. It says mirmatain, hasanataini, 2 fatty bones, a piece of the leg, the hoof, barely any meat on it. They will come to the masjid. It's a munafiq. Everybody understand this? So when that's your status, the respect that someone's going to have for you is going to be little to none. And this is what Ibn Mas'ud is trying to say here. The danger of seeking knowledge for other than Allah, and is a means of you being unsuccessful. And if you do, or you are successful, you do graduate and study well, you won't have the proper what? Respect. فَهَانُوا عَلَيْهِمْ. Why don't the people respect the scholars? Why do they disrespect the scholars? Why is this? Why is that? It's deeper than this now. Everybody understand this? And this is in the time of who? Ibn Mas'ud, let alone today. The next narration, it says, inshallah, we have the book here. Inshallah, who's going to read? Inshallah, pass it on the side. طيب سمعت نبيكم يقول فضل يا أخي عمر أسرع. كيف هذا؟ قال كيف هذا؟ سمعت نبيكم يقول كيف هذا؟ كيف عن وعن ابن مسعود. طيب هذا طيب تفضل كمل. فهمت الآن كيف الأثر؟ هذه تكملة. تفضل كمل.
سمعت نبيكم صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من جعل الهموم هما واحدا هم آخرته كفاه الله هم دنياه ومن تشعبت به الهموم في أحوال ومن تشعبت به الهموم في أحوال الدنيا لم يبال الله في أي أوديتها هلك. إن أحق ما اعتنى طالب العلم به معالجة النية وتعهدها بالإصلاح وحمايتها من الفساد وذلك لأن العلم إنما اكتسب الفضل لكونه خالصا لوجه الله تعالى. أما إذا كان لغيره فلا فضيلة فيه بل هو فتنة ووبال وسوء عاقبة. وقد علم عن قبول الأعمال أن قبول الأعمال متوقف على إخلاصها وصلاحها كما قال تعالى وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا الله مخلصين له الدين حنفاء الآية. فإذا قصد الطالب بالعلم عرض الدنيا فقد عصى ربه وأتعب نفسه وباء بإثمه ولم يأته من الدنيا إلا ما كتب له. قال الحسن رحمه الله من طلب العلم ابتغاء الآخرة أدركها ومن طلب العلم ابتغاء الدنيا فهو حظه منه. وقال الزهري فذاك حظه منها. وأبلغ من ذلك قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فيما رواه أبو هريرة رضي الله عنه من تعلم علما مما يبتغى به وجه الله لا يتعلمه إلا ليصيب به عرضا من الدنيا لم يجد عرف الجنة يوم القيامة. عرف الجنة يوم القيامة يعني ريحها. قال ابن عطاء رحمه الله في من تعلم لغير الله جعل الله العلم الذي علمه من هذا وصفه حجة عليه وسببا في تحصيل العقوبة لديه ولا يغرنك أن يكون به انتفاع للبادي والحاضر. وفي الخبر إن الله لا يؤيد هذا الدين بالرجل الفاجر، ومثل من تعلم العلم لاكتساب الدنيا والرفعة فيها كمن رفع العذرة
أو العذرة والعياذ بالله.
العذرة
ليس العذر،
العذرة بملعقة من
لا إله
الياقوت.
إلا الله. You know, the literal translation of that is تفضل.
فما أشرف الوسيلة وما أخص المتوسل إليه.
المتوسل
إليه
أو المتوسل إليه. تفضل. قال السحنون
كان ابن القاسم قلما يعرض لنا إلا وهو يقول اتقوا الله، فإن قليل هذا الأمر يعني العلم مع تقوى الله كثير، وكثيره مع غير التقوى قليل.
الله أكبر.
وقال يوسف بن الحسين سمعت ذنون المصري يقول كان العلماء يتواعظون بثلاث ويكتب بعضهم إلى بعض: من أحسن سريرته أحسن الله علانيته، ومن أصلح ما بينه وبين الله أصلح الله ما بينه وبين الناس، ومن أصلح أمر آخرته أصلح الله أمر دنياه. وقال ابن المبارك رحمه الله أول العلم نية، ثم الاستماع، ثم الفهم، ثم الحفظ، ثم العمل، ثم النشر. وهنا أمر ينبغي التنبيه عليه، ألا وهو أن جماعة من السلف قالوا كنا نطلب العلم للدنيا فجرنا إلى الآخرة، وطلبنا هذا الأمر وليس فيه نية، ثم جاءت النية بعد. ومن طلب العلم لغير الله يأبى عليه حتى يصيره إلى الله، ونحو هذا العبارة حتى يصيره إلى الله، ونحو هذه العبارات. وقد شرح الذهبي رحمه الله تعالى هذه العبارات شرحا مفيدا.
طيب, let's go to the translation now. وقف. يلا. بسم الله. Or maybe you with the same microphone. Bismillah. Yalla.
And I heard the Prophet ﷺ say, whoever focuses all of his intentions upon a single issue and focused upon the hereafter will find that Allah Azza wa Jalla has sufficed his worldly concerns. And whoever redirects his focus to the affairs of the worldly life, for him Allah will not care in which valley that he dies. Certainly, what is most deserving of the attention of the student of knowledge is the correction of his intentions and rectifying it and protecting it from corruption.
His intentions. The most deserving thing for the student of knowledge, he says, certainly, is for him to focus on his intentions. Number one, correcting them from the get-go. After the correcting intention lies the next struggle, which is what? Protecting them from corruption. Everybody understand this? You buy a white shirt that's clean. That's the first thing, is the struggle to buy the what? White shirt. Now you have to fight and work hard to keep it white, keep it from being stained.
This is because knowledge only produces goodness when it is sought sincerely for the sake of Allah.
There's no way you can lose if you're sincere and working for talab al-ilm, even if you're not the smartest, even if you don't have the biggest, most flashiest talent or ability or skill. If you're sincere, and if you're sincere, that would lead to step 2, which is hard work. And if you're hard working, then you understand the importance of consistency. You have those 3 things, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, there's no way you can lose. Sincerity for Allah, hard work, and consistency. If you don't benefit, you don't learn, it doesn't work out for you, in most cases, your flaw or your glitch is found in one of these 3 things. Sincerity for Allah, number 1. Hard work, you're not applying yourself enough. Number 3 is that you're applying yourself, but it's a day work, day sleep. A week of ijtihad, a month of amusement. Everybody understand this? Consistency. 3 tiers we mentioned: sincerity, hard work, and consistency. Tafadhal ya akhi. Yalla.
If it is sought for other than Allah, then there are no redeeming qualities for it. Rather, it is a trial. There's
no virtue in it. It's no virtue in it anymore. It's ugly. once beautiful is now ugly. Everybody understand this? I bought the shirt, it was white. It was pure white. Tayyib, clear. I spilt on this, I got mud on it, I put mustard on it, I ate this, ketchup, this and that. Nothing about the shirt is nice anymore. It's ugly. Fadl.
Rather, it is a trial, it is harmful, and it will be met with an evil end.
It's not going to work good for you.
And
Not going to work out. It's not going to work out for you. You may get things in this life, and thereafter you have a rude awakening.
And it is well known that the acceptance of actions depends on sincerity and the correctness of intention as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the meaning of Allah azza wa jal, and they were not commanded except to worship Allah alone, sincerely making their worship purely for Him. And so if a student intends to attain some worldly gold with knowledge, then he has disobeyed his Lord, exhausted himself and committed a sin, and he will not acquire anything from this worldly life except what has been written for him. Al-Hasan rahimullah said, whoever seeks knowledge in pursuit of the hereafter will acquire it, and whoever seeks knowledge in pursuit of worldly matters will only receive his share of it. Az-Zuhri rahimullah said, so that will be his share. And even more explicit than that was the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as was narrated by Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu, who said, whoever seeks knowledge, that should be sought for the sake of Allah for no other reason except that he seeks some worldly gain, will not smell the arf, meaning the scent of paradise on the day of resurrection. Ibn Atta rahimullah said concerning the one who seeks knowledge for other than Allah, Allah has made the knowledge of the one for whom this description applies an argument against him and a reason for him to be punished by Allah. And do not be deceived by the fact that he might benefit in a way that is obvious and apparent, since there is the narration. Certainly, Allah will aid this religion, even through a sinful man.
You may get something out of it. It's some flash, it's some pop, and some glitter. Some people listen, it seems okay on the surface. Seems healthy, but inside a person is dying, sick. And it's only a moment before what? Faddal.
And the example of the one who learns for the sake of acquiring some worldly gain or increase, it is like the one who raises filth with a spoon made of
Literal
crystal.
translation, avira is actual excrement, not just filth. The translator should have put it as the author said it. He didn't say qadar. He didn't say what? He didn't say awsakh. He said avira is a piece of crap. We don't have to say anything more than that. You all get the point. A piece of excrement, a ball of dung. Everybody understand this? He scoops a ball of dung with a what? Read it.
With a spoon made of crystal.
A spoon made of crystal, yaqut. Imagine using a expensive spoon, crystal, rubies, emeralds, picking up a piece of excrement. Fadl?
How honorable was the utensil, but how despicable was which it carried.
How honorable was the utensil, how despicable was what it picked up.
As-Suhnun rahimullah said, it was rare that Ibn al-Qasim would come to us without saying, fear Allah, since even a little of this, meaning knowledge, along with the fear of Allah is a lot, and a lot of it without fearing Allah is little.
Everybody understand this? Being sincere and pure for Allah with just a little bit of knowledge, I don't have the most flashy Arabic, is better than a lot of it with no taqwa. But that's the problem is what's going to lead to is, see, I can't really speak Arabic. I didn't study overseas. He does speak Arabic. He did study for a long time, but he's not sincere. That's the problem. How do you know who's what? Everybody clear on this or not? Let alone is that's not to be made as an excuse to be a failure and a dropout. Sihnun said, kada, kada, kada. So it doesn't matter. Degrees don't matter. It's not important what you have. Sihnun, is that the Nabi al-Kareem? No, he is not. Fahimtum? It's not an excuse, but that's the reality of the situation. Somebody that's sincere, is doing it in a proper way, purely for Allah, hardworking, consistent, that may take him further than someone who's flashy. Everybody understand this? Khairan, faddal.
And Yusuf ibn Hussein, he said, I heard Dhannun al-Misri say that the scholars used to offer admonitions and write to one another regarding three things.
Allahu Akbar. The scholars, they used to admonish each other with three main things. Listen carefully.
Whoever rectifies himself internally, Allah will make him upright externally as well. And whoever rectifies whatever is between himself and Allah, then Allah will rectify whatever is between him and the people. And whoever rectifies the matter of his hereafter, then Allah will rectify his worldly life. And Ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, said, the first part of knowledge is the intention, then listening, then understanding, then memorizing, then acting upon it, and then spreading it.
Golden words right there. Golden words. It's a slogan. It could be a mantra of your school, of your institute, your YouTube channel, your website. First knowledge is proper intention. Then is to listen. Is to what? Then to understand. One could also say what? Empty the cup. That's the first step. Is to listen. How can you listen if you're talking? How can you listen and talk at the same time? How can you learn and argue and debate at the what? At the same time? Well, I can, but can't do that. It doesn't work. Intention, listening, understanding. After understanding is memorization. And obviously this is not absolute. It doesn't mean you can't memorize first and then understand. It's not the speech of Prophet ﷺ. And even if it was the speech of the Prophet ﷺ, there is وَهَكَذَا. Then is action. Then is what? Spreading knowledge. What good is the knowledge if it just stays where it is? The purpose of money is to be what? Spent. It's the only purpose of working. It's to do what? It's to spend it on yourself and on the people that are around you. You can't take the money to the grave. And the beauty of knowledge is that you benefit from it in this life and you also take it with you to the grave. Everybody understand this? So that's the best money, the best wealth is the wealth of ilm. Everybody understand this? And the more you spend from your account, the richer you become. Everybody understand this? The more knowledge that you teach, the more knowledgeable you become. And that's every time you teach a class or a khutbah, that's review for yourself. And it allows you to understand it even better, more thoroughly. You get a different dimension that you didn't get it. I read this hadith 20 years ago. Now I understand it in a different way. هكذا. تفضل. وهنا أمر.
And
quickly.
And Ibn Mubarak rahimahullah also said, there is nothing superior to seeking knowledge for Allah, and there is nothing more.
Slow down. No. Go back. The first knowledge is?
The first part of knowledge is the intention.
All right, now stop. Next sentence is?
Then listening.
No. Finish that quote. Next quote is?
Ibn Mubarak also said,
there's a discrepancy here. Pass me the translation. It's not here in this version, right? Says here, let's see what the translation says. This is the translator. It's an amana. Translation. Dar al-Ilm Publications. Translator is Abu Layth Qasim ibn Agray Mutiva. Reviewed and edited by Dar al-Ilm Publications. Dar al-Ilm Publications address, Dar al-Ilm, 5020 Germantown Avenue, Philadelphia. In 2014, the book was translated by the listed translator, Abu Layth Qasim ibn Agray. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Mutiva. Tayyip. Let's see if he mentions what book he used to translate it. Says here, biography of Sheikh Abdul Salam Barjis, rahimahullah. After his biography, his death, the website of the Sheikh, and then it goes right into the introduction of the author. So what is the translator missing here? A major flaw, and we see the problem of it is what? Which print did you use? Nashr al-Ula, Nashr al-Thaniya, Nashr al-Thalitha? And it's a mistake that most translators fall into. When they translate a book, they don't mention which version they're using. They don't mention which what? And that's considered to be sloppy. Very sloppy. You make a tahqiq of a book in Arabic, you have to say what? Just a part of your introduction has to be on the makhtutat. Which, وَقَدْ اعْتَمَدْنَا فِي. We use this nuskha. We use this nashra. We use this tab'ah. You have to mention that. Because there are discrepancies, there are extra things that are missing, as we see here. So what page were you on, Adam? You didn't check the page. It says here, briefly, hopefully we don't take too much time on this, inshallah ta'ala, but it's important. I'm going to show you the proper way of doing things. It says here, Tayyib. It says, Awwalul ilm, what does it say? Read it again. Awwalul ilm. An-niyah. Naam? So the first part of knowledge is intention. Clear? Then here in our version, which we clearly mention when and where this book was printed. Naam Samir? We what? We mention when and where this version was what? Printed, clearly. So it says, أول العلم النية, correct? Then the author, he says here, وهنا أمر ينبغي التنبيه عليه ألا وهو أن جماعة من السلف قالوا. It doesn't say Ibn Mubarak said again. And in the English translation it says here, And Ibn Mubarak also said there's nothing superior to seeking knowledge for Allah. Then it says, and here there is a matter that must be mentioned. A group from the Salaf said. So we have an extra quote from Ibn Mubarak. Which version is the translator? Has the translator what? Dependent upon. If he doesn't mention it, then we're lost. And there is a discrepancy. Tafadal. Fatima's one. Let's see which one. Let's see what this says. Doesn't matter the page. This says awaq al-talab. All right. It says here Dar al-Mustaqbal and Dar al-Athariya. Right. See what it says. This one says what? Huquq al-Tab'i mahfuza. All copyrights preserved. What year was it printed in? It says it comes from Egypt. Has no information on the date. Has no information on what? On a date. The author's introduction, 1412, Al-Aiq al-Awwal. So, hypothetically speaking, not even hypothetically, the most thorough thing for the translator to have done was to do what? The one that we used, An-Nashr al-Ula. The first print in which there's a liability, when it was written, where it was written. There's a problem, there's a statement, you can call up the publications, Assalamu alaikum, we have kada kada. Does that, Sheikh Abdul Baraj didn't say that or not? This is just what? We don't know where it comes from. Everybody understand this? We don't know what? We don't know where it comes from. So this is important when it comes to reading a book or translation of the book. If you wish to translate a book, what should you put in the introduction? The nuskha that you have what? Used. If the book has been reprinted 2-3 times and you compared them and took from this one, then you have to what? Everybody clear on this or not? And we can see what? Why? Is it bad? That's not the point, but it's incorrect scientifically. فهمنا هذا؟ طيب تفضل. So this extra statement of Ibn Mubarak, where is he getting it from? Did the author reprint the book? Yes, the book has been reprinted, but that print doesn't say anything about it, and the translator didn't mention what? Which one did he use? تفضل. وهنا أمر. يلا أخي.
Ibn Mubarak also
Don't
said,
read that. We can't verify that right now.
and there is a matter that must be mentioned. A group from the Salaf said, we used to seek knowledge from worldly reasons, then we became drawn to the hereafter. And when we sought this knowledge without an intention, then the intention came afterwards. And whoever seeks knowledge for other than Allah will be prevented from it until it drives him to Allah. As well as others expressions that are similar to these, Al-Dhahabi rahimullah has offered a beneficial explanation for these expressions when he said about the statement of Ma'mar ibn Rashid rahimullah. It used to be said that a man would seek knowledge for other than Allah and it would be prevented from him until it was sought for Allah. Yes, this is how it would initially be sought, and the main incentive was
What
the
he's
love of
saying
knowledge.
here is, what he's saying here is, these narrations say, some of the Sahaba said, we used to seek knowledge and it wasn't for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We explained this in Ottawa at the university about the pure, sheer love of knowledge, love of reading, the hatred of ignorance. And then after some time, the sincere, proper intention, what? Comes. But we don't have to go that far because those statements of the Sahaba are not the words of. See the problem, how problematic it becomes? The Prophet ﷺ, he said what? إِنَّمَا الْعَمَلُ بِالنِّيَّةِ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ عِلْمًا مِمَّا يُبْتَغَى بِهِ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ, etc. Understands? The Prophet's words teach us to have the niyyah when? First. Everybody understand this? How dangerous it is. To just take a statement of other than the Prophet and use it absolutely. Because based off of this reckless mentality, the Sahaba said we sought knowledge without an intention. So I can clearly now seek knowledge with. And then later on the intention will what? Will come. Everybody understand this? The Sunnah teaches us something which is clear and simple, which is what? Everybody understand the point? Tight, moving forward. So Dhahabi rahimahullah, he explains this. We'll make some summary here. And then he goes on to mention a few other stories. Bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's important is, brothers and sisters, he mentioned some inaccuracies and some incorrect understandings with regards to taqwa, then knowledge. وَقَدْ سَمِعْنَا بِهَذَا وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهِ. So one may say, I can be pious first, then teach me. No. knowledge first, then is the what? Taqwa. And the taqwa has to be based upon ilm, as we explained in detail yesterday, spirituality and technicalities. We explained that in detail. The author, he then says here, we're coming to the end of the first chapter. He says, نعم يطلب أولا والحامل له حب العلم وحب إزالة الجهل وحب الوظائف ونحو ذلك ولم يكن علم أو علم وجوب الخاص فيه ولا صدق النية فإذا علم حاسب نفسه وخاف من وبال قصده فتجيئه النية الصالحة كلها أو بعضها وقد يتوب من نية الفاسدة ويندم وعلامة ذلك أنه يقصر من الدعاوي وحب المناظرة ومن قصد التكثر بعلمه ويجري على نفسه فإن تكثر أو قال أنا أعلم من فلان فبعدا له. Al-Dhahabi, he says, yes, somebody may seek knowledge, and the first reason why seeking knowledge is pure love of knowledge, like we just explained, and hatred of ignorance, like we just explained. Listen carefully, he says, in love of wada'if, positions, a teacher, a leader, a president, this and that, and things like this. And he doesn't know that it's obligatory to have sincerity in seeking knowledge. كيف خفي عليه هذا? How is that even hidden? Everybody understand this? How is that even what? Hidden. Everybody understand this? How is that even what? Hidden from day one. Everybody clear on this? What's important is he knows that one has to seek knowledge for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he's afraid that he'll end up in disaster and he gets the proper intention. He says all of it or some of it. كيف هذا الكلام? كيف يوجه هذا الكلام? How does we understand this? That a person started seeking knowledge and he didn't know that he had to be what? Is that hidden to anybody today in our times? It's very, very difficult. And then he says all of the proper intention comes or what? Some of it. So what happens to the rest of the intention that's not proper? Kayf. Everybody understand this speech? This is interesting here. He then says, and then he makes repentance. Well, he could possibly make repentance from his improper intention and have regret. And have what? Regret. I wasn't doing it right then. And the sign of this is that he avoids claims. So listen to this carefully. The kalam of Dhahabi rahimahullah is that he avoids what? A da'awi. I know this, I got this, I'm the best at this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. He avoids what? Claiming things. He avoids what he said? Claiming. And he, in the love of debating and arguing. And the intention, he says, وَمِنْ قَصْدِ التَّكَثُّرْ بِعِلْمِهِ وَمِنْ قَصْدِ التَّكَثُّرْ بِعِلْمِهِ وَإِزْرَاء طيب. He says, and just for a person just gain knowledge just to have more of it, for no other reason, no other purpose. Looking down upon oneself. فَإِن تَكَثَّرَ. So if a person just seeks knowledge just for this, without the proper intention, or he says, I know more than fulan, فَبُعْدًا لَهُ. Go away. It's far away. Person claiming, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. Pay close attention. Everybody understand this? Saying that you're this, and the next person, what? Is it? Moving forward. ومن ذلك ما يذكره بعض القصاص أن رجلا خطب امرأة ذات منصب وجمال فأبت لفقره وقلة حسبه ففكر بأي الأمرين ينالها أبي المال أم الحسب فاختار الحسب وطلب له العلم حتى أصبح ذا مكانة فبعثت إليه المرأة تعرض نفسها فقال لا أثر على العلم شيئا. He says there's a story here that a man went to marry a very beautiful woman, a prestigious, high-born woman. But she said, no, because you're poor, you're a peasant. What can I do with you? I don't want to marry you. You have nothing for me. So he sat down and thought, how can I get this beautiful, prestigious woman? Can I get her through money? Can I get her through lineage? Obviously, he can't change his lineage. Many people in history, many great historical figures, they have covered up their lineage through money or other means. I'm the son of this one. Actually, you're the son of a bread maker and not of a great warrior or a great poet or a great artist. It's well known in history. Even to this day, many people, they pay money to do what? To erase their history. And then I'll have this nobility or this background. So this man here, he says, I'll seek knowledge through what? He's with wealth. And he's طَلَبَ لَهُ الْعِلْمِ. And the way of me getting this wealth is through seeking what? Knowledge. So then when he became... he says, أصبح ذا مكانة. He became strong, powerful. The woman, she sent her soldiers to him. I want to marry you. It's okay now. You're noble now. And the man said, sorry, never mind. He says, I won't give anyone precedence above my what? My first true love, which is what? Which is knowledge. Where are the people like this today? Allahul Musta'an. It also goes to show us how people can seek knowledge for women back what? Back then, let alone today. In which you live in a whole land, no one's knowledgeable, no one can recite. I'm the student of knowledge. So therefore, I want to marry you, marry you, marry you, marry you, marry you. And it's people, they deny this. Astaghfirullah, you can't say that, akhi. This is a reality. This is a what? As we just read. Everybody clear on this? خيرا إن شاء الله. وذلك لأن العلم أرشده إلى تصحيح النية والأعمال الصالحة فدخل في عداد إنما يخشى الله من عباده العلماء فتورع بترك امرأة كان طلب العلم لأجلها أو كان طلب العلم لأجلها إعلاما بصدق قصده وسلامة مأربه ومما قلته في هذا المعنى من الأبيات. He says, in summarizing all of this, this is because knowledge, the knowledge that he obtained, it led him to the direction of correcting his niyyah, of fixing his niyyah. The beauty of knowledge and the power of knowledge, it rectified what was once corrupt. And it led him to righteous actions, and then he was included, bi'idhnillah, in Allah's statement, it is only the ulama from Allah's slaves who truly fear him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he left off the woman, was the original purpose of him seeking knowledge, to show the people that he was true and sincere, and that his intentions were pure. Then the author, rahimahullah ta'ala, goes on to quote several different lines of poetry that he himself wrote. Anyone who wishes to read them in Arabic and memorize them can go back to them at his or her own leisure. Bidnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's move on. The author then says, فَالْحَذَرَ الْحَذَرَ أَيُّهَا الطَّالِبُ مِنَ الشِّرْكِ فِي النِّيَّةِ فإن الله تعالى يقول كما في الحديث القدسي أنا أغنى الشركاء عن الشرك من عمل عملا أشرك فيه معي غيري تركته وشركه وقد أجمع العارفون على أن استحكام الهلكة إنما يكون إذا خلى الله بين الإنسان ونفسه وعندئذ تتخطفه الشياطين وتتشعب به المسالك وتكون النار أولى به. He says, so beware, beware. Beware, beware. فَالْحَذَرَ الْحَذَرَ. Beware, O you student, from making shirk in your intention. Because Allah says in the Qudsi hadith, I have nothing to do with the partners. I'm in no need of the partners. I'm free from the partners. Anyone who makes an act in which he makes a partner with me, I will abandon him and his shirk. He says, and all of the knowledgeable people, the arifun, This is a Sufi book we're reading. He says, the arifun, the knowledgeable people, he says, they say, أَنَّ اسْتِحْكَامَ الْهَلَكَ. He says, total destruction and absolute loss and ruin is when Allah frees, or when Allah Azza wa Jalla leaves a person to himself. That's when it's total destruction. When Allah is no longer protecting you. When Allah is no longer with you, when Allah is not looking after you, then it's what? Istihkam al-halaka. He says it's absolute what? There's no chance of you winning. Everybody understand this? So Allah says in the hadith, if you make shirk, I will what? Abandon you. Once Allah abandons you, then there is hope for you, success. He says istihkam al-halaka. Not just halaka, but istihkam. It's strong, totally ruined, finished. He then says, and when that happens, the devils will snatch him up. He'll be kidnapped by the demons. And he'll have so many different things that he's fallen into. He won't be focused. He's just ruined. وَتَكُونَ النَّارُ أَوْلَى بِهِ وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ. And the fire will have the most haqq for him. We deserve you more. Come here to us. وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ. When Allah Azza wa Jal abandons you. قال حماد بن سلمة رحمه الله من طلب الحديث لغير الله مكر به. هكذا بالضبط. It says here, Hamad ibn Salama, he said, he who seeks knowledge for other than Allah, makara bihi. The way that it says here with the three fathas, as if Allah will make a plot against him. Makara bihi. And his other version says, mukira bihi. A plot will be made against him. Khairan inshaAllah. وإن الصلاح النية في العلم لأكبر معين عليه كما قال أبو عبد الله الروذباري العلم منقوف على العمل والعمل منقوف على الإخلاص والإخلاص لله يورث الفهم عن الله عز وجل. He says, therefore, having a correct intention is the greatest thing which will help you in seeking knowledge. The greatest, strongest tool is sincere intention. How much you know, how fast you can read, where you come from, who knows you, this and that, that's not the greatest thing. It's sincere, pure intentions. As Abu Abdullah al-Rudhabali said, knowledge is based off, it stops based off of action. It depends on the action. And the action is based off of sincerity. And sincerity for Allah will inherit and bring and cause pure understanding from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وفي سنن الدارمي عن إبراهيم النخعي أنه قال من ابتغى شيء من العلم يبتغي به وجه الله أتاه الله منه ما يكفيه. He says, it states that Ibrahim al-Nakhai said, he who seeks something of knowledge and he's intending the face of Allah, Allah will give him that which will suffice him. Allah will give him that which he needs. And only Allah knows what else Allah will give you. But at least you'll have what? That which is sufficient. He then says, last but not least, تنبيه يستدل بعض الناس على أن العمل يورث العلم دون تعلم بقوله تعالى واتقوا الله ويعلمكم الله. He says some people, they misuse a verse in the Quran. Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah says, fear Allah and Allah will teach you. To state that when a person is acting upon, when you do make actions, that brings ilm. Not the opposite. In other words, just work and then you'll what? Learn. Instead of learning and then working. قال في تفسير المنار نقلا عن شيخه اشتهر على ألسنة المدعين للتصوف في معنى هاتين الجملتين واتقوا الله ويعلمكم الله أن التقوى تكون سببا للعلم وبنوا على ذلك أن سلوك طريقتهم وما يأتون به فيها من الرياضة وتلاوة الأوراد والأحزاب تثمر لهم العلوم الإلهية بدون تعلم. And he goes on to refute that statement, quoting from a few people with regards to the tafsir, stating why that is wrong, that's incorrect. Summarizing that's what? Incorrect. Knowledge first, then action. Taqwa, hakada, not the opposite. You just be pious and then knowledge will fall upon you from the sky. No, that's wrong. That's incorrect. One of the first things we learn in al-usul al-thalatha, al-ilmu qabla al-qawli wal-amal, based off of the Quran and the Hadith, not Bukhari's statement, not Ibn Abdul Wahhab's statement. The only reason why everybody understand this, that's why it's true. It's correct because Ibn Abdul Wahhab said it? No. That principle is correct because Bukhari said it? No. It's correct because what? The Kitab and the Sunnah. Kitab and the Sunnah. Everybody understand this? And we learn, we take the example of Bukhari, of Ibn Abdul Wahhab, of the people of knowledge. That is what's correct. Everybody understand this? The reason why this is correct is because of what? Allah and His Messenger. That's why the principle is right. And the reason why the principle is incorrect because it's against what Allah and His Messenger said. The usage is wrong, let alone if it doesn't even have a proof stating it from the Kitab and the Sunnah. I cannot repeat how important these words are. Our Aqidah is based off of Kitab, Sunnah. Our Ibadah is based off of what? Kitab and Sunnah. Why is this group astray? Why is that wrong? Because of what? Al-Kitabu was Sunnah. Everybody understand this? What is the understanding of the Sahaba except for the Ijma' is based off of the Qiyas is based off of the. We cannot repeat, we cannot say how important it is to constantly have this on your mind. Al-Kitabu was Sunnah, the text, the dalil, that's understood by the Sahaba and the Salaf, that is explained, is laid out, simplified by the ulama. But it's based off of what? And it's not just based off, it's not right just because Imam Bukhari what? Said it. Abadan. Everybody understand this? It's not right just because Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah said it. No. La. It's because of the proofs and the evidences and the argument that was made by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah based off of the Kitab and Sunnah. That's for any alim. Everybody understand this? Moving forward, the author says, وَهَذَا كَلَامٌ جَيِّد وَيُضَافُ إِلَيْهِ أَيْضًا, and he goes on to say that that's an excellent point, and he refutes that whole entire claim. خير إن شاء الله. العائق الثاني ترك العمل. Bismillah. A new reader, inshallah. Type labats. I'll read it perhaps tomorrow because it's getting late tonight. And we definitely want to finish this chapter, inshallah ta'ala. The author, he says, العائق الثاني ترك العمل. عن أبي برزة الأسلمي قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تزول قدم عبد يوم القيامة حتى يسأل عن عمره فيما أفناه وعن علمه فيما فعل فيه به وعن ماله من أين اكتسبه وفيما أنفقه وعن جسمه فيما أبلاه. Abu Barz al-Aslami radiallahu anhu narrated the Prophet ﷺ said, on the day of judgment, the feet of the son of Adam will not be removed. He'll be standing. He'll be responsible until he's asked about how he spent his life, what he did, how he implemented his knowledge, how he earned his money, how he spent his money, and how he ruined his body. Did you ruin your body in Allah's cause? Or did you ruin it in other than that? Ablahu. Your body becomes dry. You dry out your body in what? Cause of Allah or other than that? You'll be asked about this. Everybody clear on this? You'll be what? You'll be asked about this. How you spent your body. You have muscles. You have a brain. You have eyes, ears, tongue, heart. What did you do with it? Where did you earn your money? Where did you spend it? You learned, but did you act upon it? Everybody understand this? So the author is using this hadith to show the point of the severe danger of learning and not implementing. The severe danger of learning and what? Not implementing. And the proof is taken from this hadith. So everything of the kalam of this one, of that one, of fulan is going to be based off of what, Hishan? This hadith. This is the asal. Allah on the Quranic ayat. Everybody understand this? And not the opposite. It's dangerous to learn and implement because fulan said. Fahim that? Amla? We understand this or not? Everyone's statement is understood in light of this hadith, the kalam of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. وأخرج الخطيب نحوه وفيه وعن علمه ماذا عمل فيه أو فيه وفيه عن أبي الدرداء رضي الله عنه أنه قال لا تكون عالما حتى تكون متعلما ولا تكون بالعلم عالما حتى تكون به عاملا. Al-Khatib is also mentioned in his book. What book? اقتضاء العلم العمل. Added to your list of books to read, to study of the adab of talab al-ilm. اقتضاء العلم العمل. He says, Abu Darda said, you cannot be an alim, can't be learned until you learn, until you study. You can't be a master until you're a what? An apprentice. He says, you cannot be learned of knowledge, an alim, until you act upon it. وفيه عن علي رضي الله عنه أنه قال هتف العلم بالعمل فنجابه إلى ارتحلا. Ali رضي الله عنه said that knowledge, listen to this. What do we call a phone in today's time? A what? In Arabic. Hatif, Jawal, Sayyar, etc. They call it a hatif. The verb says hatafa. Calling out from what? You. Hatafa bihi. Hatafahu. Everybody understand this? He did what? Called out to him. That's where the word for phone comes from today. Everybody understand this? You understand it or not? So this Athar, Ali radiallahu anhu said that knowledge does what? Calls out for what? Who? Action. Where are you at? I'm looking for you. Everybody understand this? He says if he finds it, then he'll come. It'll come. And if not, then the knowledge will what? Everybody understand this? I came to your hotel room. I called you. You didn't pick up the phone, so I left. Look at how beautiful this speech is. Knowledge wants what? Action. If the action isn't there, then the knowledge, it won't what? It won't remain. Everybody understand this? وعن الفضيل بن عياض أنه قال لا يزال العالم جاهلا بما علم حتى يعمل به فإذا عمل به كان عالما. Fudayl ibn Iyadh rahimahullah, he said لا يزال, listen to this, how deep this is. Fudayl ibn Iyadh, he says that the alim, the learned man, the scholar will be a jahil. He'll continue to be an ignoramus until he acts upon what he has learned. And this goes to show you someone can have information and facts and at the same time be what? Jahil, waliyadhu billah. But that's not your place to say who is and who isn't. Your job is to do what? You worry about getting your knowledge. Everybody understand this? Nor do you make this as an excuse for you to be a failure and for this one to be successful. Everybody understand this? Nor is it your place to scorn ilm and to scorn years of study, to scorn academic acknowledgments. That's not your place to do that. That's not your what? Fudayl ibn Iyadh said, kada, kada, kada. So it doesn't matter what degree you have. This is what we suffer from today. That's not the right way, guys. That's what? It's not the right way. And you yourself, let me hear you recite the Fatiha. Tfaddal. Let me hear you recite 40 Hadith Nawawi. Tfaddal. What do you know about Usul al-Fiqh? Tfaddal. Fara'id. Tfaddal. Tell me a story from the Seerah. Tfaddal. What's the tafsir of this ayah? Tfaddal. He can't answer anything. But he's telling what Fudayl ibn Iyadh said about this one and about that one. Everybody understand this? That doesn't make any what? Period. If it was another alim saying that, we say, mumkin, perhaps. What? Perhaps. Busy yourself. Learn. You study. You worry about benefiting yourself instead of trying to strip something from the next person. He then says, Al-amalu bil-ilmi mud'atun li-hifdihi wa thabatihi. كما أن عدم العمل مدعاة لضياع العلم ونسيانه ولذلك قال الشعبي رحمه الله كنا نستعين على حفظ الحديث بالعمل به وكنا نستعين على طلبه بالصوم. He says action. He says العمل بالعلم مدعاة لحفظه is when you act upon the knowledge that you have, it's a reason behind you keeping that knowledge. How do I keep forgetting? Because you're not implementing it, you're not acting upon it. Everybody understand this? From the ways of soaking up knowledge is to do what? It's to implement it. Just like the lack of implementing knowledge is a reason behind knowledge being lost and you losing out on it. Ash-Sha'bi rahimahullah, who's from the greatest of the tabi'een, Amr ibn Shirahil rahimahullah, he said, we used to seek help for memorizing hadiths by implementing them. And we used to seek help for seeking hadith by fasting. He's from the Salaf, the Kibar Tabi'een right now. Tayyib, how many people are fasting when they seek hadith? How many of us fast, voluntary fasts? Let alone to go out and to search and to study with less energy. You're thirsty, you're tired, you have a migraine. Everybody understand this? He says here, وَقَالَ عَبْدُ اللَّهِ بْنُ مَسْعُودٍ رضي الله عنه إني لأحسب العبد ينسى العلم كان يعلمه بالخطيئة يعملها ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. Ibn Mas'ud said, indeed, when someone forgets some knowledge that they previously learned, I think it's because of a sin that he is making. A sin that he is making. Everybody understand it's a sin that he's what? Making. Now, before we move forward, you not implementing knowledge doesn't just necessarily mean that it's just a sin. Something that you're making a fisq. It could be you not practicing the knowledge. Not teaching the knowledge. Everybody understand this? Not doing what you're supposed to do with the what? With the knowledge. Everybody understand this? All of that is included in what? Adamul ilm. So if you're making fisq, if you're spending your time drinking alcohol, not only are you not implementing the knowledge by making a sin, by avoiding khamr, Allah says, fajtanibuhu, two things right there. The time that you're spending drinking alcohol is time wasted for reviewing the knowledge and teaching the knowledge. So you have three major things which all lead to you what? Forgetting that knowledge. No. La. Not forgetting it, but the knowledge being what? Taken from you. Punishment. In the form of forgetfulness. فهمنا هذا ولا لا? Everybody understand this or not? Everybody got this? So it's not a joke. Khairan, inshallah. Then author, rahimahullah ta'ala, he goes on to mention a few more quotes. He says, وَتَرْكُ الْعَمَلِ بِالْعِلْمِ عَلَى قِسْمَيْنِ أو الأول ترك الائتمار بالواجبات الشرعية وترك الانتهاء عن المحرمات الشرعية فهذا كبيرة من الكبائر وعليه تحمل الآيات والأحاديث المتوعدة من ترك العمل بالعلم. The first is two ways of not implementing your knowledge. One is to avoid what's haram and to fail to perform what is mandatory. And that's a major sin. And that's what's meant by those ayat and those ahadith about the sin and the threat that awaits those who don't implement their knowledge. Al-Qism al-Thani, the second type, Tarkul Mustahabbat or Tarku Ijtinab al-Makruhat, leaving off recommended acts and avoiding disliked acts. Things that aren't haram to do, you should what? Stay away from. Things that aren't mandatory to do, you should what? Do them. Because that's when you learn the fadat, the virtue of this prayer, the virtue of this fast, the virtue of the miswak, the virtue. And none of it is what? Fard. What's the point of learning all those hadiths in Sahih Muslim, all those extra acts, and you never ever what? Do any of them. Everybody understand this? Khairan, inshallah. Moving forward, the author he then says, he mentions a few more quotes. Maybe we'll mention Ibn al-Jawzi's quote at the end of the chapter. قال ابن الجوزي رحمه الله والمسكين كل المسكين من ضاع عمره في علم لم يعمل به ففاته لذات الدنيا وخيرات الآخرة فقدم مفلسا مع قوة الحجة عليه. انت كلامه لا إله إلا الله. His kalam يكتب بماء العينين. It could be written with the tears from your eyes. How valuable it is. Everybody understand this? If you had to make ink from your tears in your eyes, it wouldn't be a waste. Ibn al-Jawzi, he said, and we said before many classes, many lectures, the importance of, or the virtue of Ibn al-Jawzi. Last year at the Sanahar conference, we did a biography on Ibn al-Jawzi, and we mentioned many of his books, Sayyid al-Khatir, a very important book for the student of knowledge to read, and many other beautiful books that he wrote. Not saying that everything Ibn al-Jawzi wrote was correct and is free from error, just like any other alim. Everybody understand this? هناك موضوعات, هناك قصص ومنامات وأشياء تحضر. هناك أشياء في بعض الصفات. هناك بعض الزلات كغيره. Allah yarhamu. Ibn al-Jawzi rahimahullah, he said, listen to this speech right here. La ilaha, it just makes you sad if you just really think about this now. He said, al-miskin. He says, the poor one. The total loser. That's what this meant by here. Kull al-miskin. The total absolute loser is the one who wastes his life learning knowledge that he doesn't implement. Learning something that he himself doesn't benefit from. Why is he such a great loser? Why is he so poor? Because two things took place. Or one thing happened and another one happened. One, he missed out on the pleasures of the dunya. He was seeking knowledge, learning, sacrificing, suffering. He didn't get this, he didn't buy this, he didn't go here, he didn't get married, he suffered. I was in Egypt with no food, with this, all of these things. He suffered to get this ilm. So he left out, or he missed out on what? Dunya. You're in Egypt, studying with no food, barely eating meat, vegetables, soggy rice. And your brother's in Canada, he just graduated from law school. Correct? And your family like, won't you go to law school? Why are you overseas seeking knowledge? This is not the case. Many of your parents you have to fight with to go to Medina. Wallahi, I met brothers like this. They had to fight with their parents, literally, to let them go to Medina. My mother's a doctor, my father's a doctor, my uncle's a doctor, my aunt is a dentist, everybody's successful, worldly. And you're seeking knowledge, suffering, starving. So you're missing out on those what? Those that. Everybody understand this? Social media nowadays was different back then. They send you a picture of the feast that we had. You missed out. You're in Medina. You're eating fool and bread. Or not even that. Fool is like steak when you're hungry. No doubt. The fool is like steak when you're hungry. You get a little olive oil, Hisham, just a what? It's not extra virgin, high quality, but just a what? Just what? Sheikh Hassan, what? Shway, just a little bit of olive oil. It's cut, it's watered down, but it's still olive oil. You get a little feta cheese. You go to Medina, you go to the grocery store. Anyone who's ever been there knows this. Perhaps it's the same in other countries. You can't afford a big thing of the cheese. You get a little what? A slice, a kilo. A fourth of a kilo. Or even better than that, even worse than that, you say, I have 5 riyals. Give me 5 riyals worth of cheese. Literally. Give me 10 riyals worth of feta cheese. You get a little tomato. It's not the best tomato. Maybe some onions, a little bit of parsley. You mix it up, mash it up, make it nice and hot. The fava beans start bubbling and boiling. You put it in a bowl, a little olive oil, your onions, tomato, and the feta cheese and some ice, some bread, some pita bread. Oh man, la ilaha illallah. This is, and we are starving. Those beans taste like rib eye steak. Am I making this up, Simon? Sheikh Hassan, am I making this up? That's like a ni'mah to eat that. And we're not talking about for breakfast. This is your dinner. That's your dinner. That's all the money that you have. What if you don't have that. You have enough money, and the laws are witness, we're not making this up, for nothing more but bread and yogurt. It's not cooked. There's no beans, bread and yogurt. That's your dinner for a week, 2 weeks. Bread and yogurt. Or you may not have money for water. You may not have money for bread. This is a reality. This is true. Everybody clear this or not? You spend all your money at the hospital. Your daughter got sick. All your monthly stipend, the money that the brother sent you from America or Canada, is gone in 1 hour at the hospital. Your daughter was sick. There's no more money for the rest of the month. Pampers, the money is gone. This is all the food that you have. And then your cousin or your brother, they send you a picture or they call you, we just had this. He just graduated. He just bought a car. He just bought a house. So you're seeking knowledge. You're suffering. You're sacrificing. You're missing out on that to dunya. Not just the dunya. You're in the world. You're missing out on what? That. The beautiful things of the worldly life. So that's the first loss. That's the first what? First loss. Then he says, and you also miss out on the good things of the hereafter. You miss out on the what? The good things on the hereafter. You have loss in this life and what? Loss in the next. And that's not it. He says, فَقَدِمَ مُفْلِسًا. He says you go to the hereafter and you're bankrupt. You have no money in your bank to fight with, to argue with, to beg and ask Allah. Oh Allah, I did nothing. He says, مَعَ قُوَّةِ الْحُجَّةِ عَلَيْهِ. And it's a very, very formidable argument against you. Allah will ask the alim, I taught you this, I gave you this. فَمَا عَمِلْتَ فِيهَا فَعَرَّفَهُ نِعْمَهُ فَعَرَفَهَا. Allah will tell him his blessings that he gave him. You went to Medina. In Canada, you're a normal, average person. Who are you? You're 20 years old, 19 years old, nothing. Young punk. Allah chose you to travel to the Prophet's city. to study, learn the language of the Quran, memorize the Quran, read the books of hadith, study with the ulama, be in the Prophet's masjid every day. Be nourished with Zamzam water every day for free. Allah gave you all of that knowledge. So many blessings. Young, strong, handsome, intelligent. All the things Allah gave you. And you didn't implement the knowledge that you had. There's quwwatul hujjati alayhi. There's a major argument against you now. What are you going to say to Allah? You didn't implement your ilm. Allah asked you all the things I gave you. You couldn't repay me. All I asked you was to implement what I gave you. That's all was asked from you. It's very dangerous. And it's one of the major obstacles of seeking knowledge. Khairan, inshaAllah. With that being said, those are the first 2 chapters of the book. And before we move forward or stop, pay close attention, brothers. These are considered to be the most important, main, primary obstacles. Okay? The initial primary obstacles. And they're the general ones. Now, later on, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, the third one, you can see the author's manhaj. He's now going into the more detailed obstacles. The more what? Detailed obstacles. And they're just as important as the... Everybody understand this? As we just said. Because that's not enough now. If I go to Medina, I go to Yemen, I go to Egypt, wherever I go to study, Somalia, wherever you're going. All right? Just examples. Wherever you go. I'm sincere and I act upon my ilm. That's not enough to what? No. Let alone to be good, let alone to be professional, let alone to become something great and elite. You have to know the what? The finely subtleties. Everybody clear on this or not? So the first 2 are the most important. They're the initial ones, but they are also the general ones that you want to hear all of the time. Be sincere. I want to advise you to go to Medina, be sincere, which is beautiful advice. Be sincere. But that's not what? Actual. Everybody understand this? Detailed. He says, Al-Arq al-Thalith, the third obstacle or pitfall, al-i'timadu al-kutub dun al-ulama, is relying upon books and not the scholars. Relying upon books and not the scholars. Before we go into the explanation, this is clearly a major problem. It's to think that you can just be self-taught. You can teach yourself. You can understand it yourself. You can learn yourself. And there are many problems that come from relying on books and not the people who are learned. Many problems, which the author will get into, bidinillah. From the manifestations of this is not going overseas and staying in your country and teaching dawah. I have to teach dawah. I'm the imam of the masjid. Never traveled. Or even if you don't travel, you never learned the proper knowledge where he what? Where he is. Or giving dawah is an obligation, establishing the masjid. Some people didn't have the opportunity to go overseas. And this is the reality. I don't know how things are in Canada, but in America in the 60s and the 70s, knowledge was it is now, but then it's extremely scarce. Going overseas, scholarships, it was not like how it is now. It was nothing like how it is now. The detailed, refined way of ilm and people that are Americans, naturally Americans, speaking Arabic fully, reading books, graduating, this, that. It wasn't like that back then. Many of the leaders, they were leaders by default. They were leaders from Jahiliyyah, a gang war leader. He was the toughest person in the neighborhood. He had the most money. He was the smoothest speaking. He could fight the best. He was a natural, charismatic leader. He never was properly trained to be an imam of a community. Everybody understand this? In which he has to deal with men, women, children. This problem, this issue, forget khutbah, class, salah, reciting the Quran. I'm talking about major social issues. He was never trained to deal with any of these things. The Islamic training, nor the secular training. Everybody understand this? What is his sin? In 1960 or 65 or 70, was he supposed to say, I can't be the imam, I can't teach because I didn't study with ulama, I just read it in a book? He can't say that. He didn't have the option to travel. But it's 2018 now. It's time to do what now? Relinquish it. Alhamdulillah, it's yours now. You're from the community. I know your father. You come from good stock. You went overseas. You lead the salah. You teach the classes. You do the khutbahs. I had to do it because I didn't have any choice. This is by default. Well, I can't even speak Arabic, and you're holding full-blown conversations in Arabic. Reading books that I can't even imagine. Memorizing stuff I can't even read. How is it even permissible and possible for me to keep the power and to banish you and run you away and chase you away? This is the state of many, many masjids in the United States. Canada, I don't know. I don't have that much experience here. And I'm not going to speak about that which I don't know about. But my country, this is a major reality. And then it becomes even worse when you come back from overseas, Adam. You studied, you learned, and you look at me like nothing. You disrespect me, call me by my first name. You don't have no respect. I'm old enough to be your father or grandfather. I was literally fighting in the streets to establish a masjid, to get away the drug dealers and the prostitutes and to clean up the neighborhood and to establish Islam and to get the people in the school not to disrespect Muslims, pull off a girl's khimar, to celebrate the Eid, not to make fun of Muslims in public. We had to literally fight for this, literally. It's not figurative. Actually, I'm talking about fighting, violence had to be shown for there to be a basic amount of respect for the Muslims. For you to wear niqab and walk down the street and no one say anything to you. You come back from overseas, you know 10 times more than me. You don't say, Jazakallah khairan, ya Sheikh. May Allah bless you for your efforts. May Allah reward you. I'm here on my summer break. You know, if there's anything you need me to help you out with, any classes, here's my number, Sheikh. Not imposing, but say, anything you want me to do, I'm at your service. No respect, no acknowledgement, rather disrespect. He's a deviant, you're ignorant, stupid, old. أجهل من حمار أهله مبتدئ ضال مضل. You start cursing him and just totally berating him. That's your poor akhlaq, even though you have the knowledge or some knowledge. But then comes Asad. Asad graduated later than you, 10 years later, 5 years later. Asad's akhlaq are beautiful. He has respect, he's humble, he respects his elders, he's willing to teach, he's not asking for anything. But me as the old 60-year-old imam, 70-year-old imam, I'm looking at Asad through the scope of who? Adam. He had a long beard and what? You have a long beard. Everybody understand this? He had a short thobe and what? You had a short thobe. He graduated from Medina and you what? He said he was Salafi and you said you're what? So I'm going to treat Asad the same way. And now who suffers? Who suffers now? The community. The community suffers because of your poor and terrible akhlaq and your lack of respect. And you not realizing that this imam did not have the opportunity that what? You had. Everybody understand this? And then the whole masjid remains upon ignorance, misguidance, no knowledge, and then it gets the stamp. Masjid Ahlul Bid'ah, they don't want the dawah, move forward. Masjid after masjid, and this is exactly what has happened in most masjids, especially in the East Coast. This is exactly what happened. You can't go there, you can't teach there, then it's 20 years later. It's 20 years later. Salmon comes back, 25 years later. I'm older now, I have cancer. My children are grown. I had this affliction. My son died. My wife died. My pride, my arrogance, my venom is not like how it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I've humbled myself now. And things have really changed in the dunya. Salmon came back with character even more beautiful than Asad. And his knowledge was 10 times more than Asad's knowledge. Everybody understand this? So now I say what to you, Salmon? What do I do now? I say what? Say, tafaddal. This is your masjid. Teach whatever you want to teach. You got it. Open, green light. But Adam comes back on the scene and he starts doing what against Samir? Warning against him. Why are you going to that masjid? He's a mubtadi'. He doesn't want the haqq. He doesn't want the ilm. He doesn't want the ulama. He doesn't want the salafiyah. Everybody understand this? And then there's a big, gigantic mess in which the average layman Muslim is the victim. The average layman Muslim is the what? The victim. This is a reality in history. So it goes to show you that you have to understand what Allah has blessed you with. Everyone did not have the ability to go overseas and study with the ulama and sit and learn. Everybody understand this? So you have to know what Allah has given you, and it should humble you and make you more appreciative. And also, it's not just the brother that's two or this. No. We have fear among everybody. The older imam that was the imam by default in 2018, what does he must now have to do? What does he have to do? He has to realize that things are different now. And you can't just be an imam talking off of emotion. It's not the 70s no more. Those days are gone. They're over. They're finished. As we said, there's a new what? A new sheriff that's in town. Everybody understand this? And it's upon you to understand that. And there's no disrespect. You work together. He put in the work. He established the community. He's a leader. He's an old man with experience. And you're the young, sharp, whippy kid that has all the knowledge, that can speak, that knows the rulings. And you work together. And then bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, you're the imam of the masjid. You teach the class at the masjid. He's not going to relinquish all the power immediately. It's hard. It's difficult. His ego is a reality, but you have your foot in the door. Is he stopping you from teaching? Is he putting a condition? Teach whatever you want to teach. One day, and perhaps I'll leave you with this, with tonight. We're sitting in the house of Sheikh Abdul Wahab al-Aqid in Medina. It was maybe every Wednesday, or I think it was once a month rather. Maybe the last Wednesday in a month. It was many years ago. He would open up his door and he would have a majlis for the Western brothers, whether they're from America, Canada, UK. And also a couple brothers that were from Saudi or Sudan, they would come in as well and they would talk. So the books that the Sheikh were teaching, or the book that the teaching was Jami' Bayan Ilm Fadlihi, Ibn Abdul Barr. The people read the book to him, he would make the ta'liqat, we would all sit in his house. Sometimes he would offer dinner and tea, sometimes just tea and dates. So if you came early, you got a chance to sit and talk with the Sheikh and actually have personal conversation with him, let alone ask questions, so on and so forth. So one day, he was talking about dawah, about etiquettes, the proper way, the improper way, avoiding this, so on and so forth. And he mentioned a story of some Sudani students, people that were from Sudan. Obviously, anyone who knows anything about Sudan, he knows that the country, like many other countries, is full of Sufis, riddled with Sufis. Well known, it's well known, strong hub of Sufism in Sudan, well known. So some of the Sudanese brothers that were upon the Sunnah, Al-Hadith way, obviously when they had studied in Saudi, came back, it's going to be a clash. We're older, you're a Wahhabi, we're Sufi, whatever. Get out of here. They don't have no money, they don't have no power, they don't have no infrastructure. Everything is in the hands of these people, or most of it. So it's a problem. But there's a new generation, they're children, they're young people, people that aren't on the old cultural Sufi bid'ah way. So what's going to happen? He said that some of these Sudanese brothers, they said that they respected the elders, they didn't kiss up to them, but they respected them because they are older than you. Even if they're upon deviance, he's still a Muslim, unless you make takfir on him. And unless you're scared to say he's a kafir, but your action with him is the action of a what? Of a kafir. Because the usul of your tabdi', nafs usul, takfir. And many people today, if you read their histories and their stories, they used to be takfiris. And once again, they washed their history. They washed their history and they erased the history that used to be takfiri, hardcore. And the same principles are what? No question, but with a new label. Right, but understand this? That's all I'm going to say about that. So therefore, the Sudanese brothers, they would respect some of the elders, would respect them, not kiss up to them. We didn't say that. Nor agree with the batil. We never what? Lam nukul hadha. They wouldn't agree with the batil and not enjoy the good and forbid the evil. But they respected them and they used a bit of wisdom. So they said the only thing that we had the opportunity to do was teach Quran. They knew that we knew Quran well, our qira'ah was good, they allowed us to do tahfidh. That was it. So he said we sat and we did tahfidh. That's all we did. We didn't talk about aqeedah. All we did was tahfidh, 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 and tahfidh. He said, so as the tahfidh program was extremely successful, many students began to memorize the Quran, study the Quran, they became sharp. The parents were obviously impressed. There has to be some good in these Wahhabis. They're helping our children out. Has to be some good in them. So they said we kept focusing on tahfidh until the older Sufis, they said, these are your children. Khuluhum. Take them, you can start teaching them Islamic studies, Aqidah, whatever you want to teach them, as long as they remain positive, you got it. And he says, and that's how we began to establish the schools and the masjids upon the correct Aqidah, the correct Ibadah, the correct Amal. And by Allah's permission, we were able to make some type of change. Some type of change, slowly, not rushing. Everybody understand this? So the point that we're trying to get to is, from this point, is to understand that everyone doesn't have the ability to go overseas. If you do have the ability to go overseas and study with the ulama or in your own country, wherever they are, then that's what? That's what you should do. And that you should not just be self-taught from a book. You should not be what? Self-taught from a book. And at the same time, it doesn't mean that you don't read books and you don't study by yourself and memorize and review and research. That's the other side of extremism. Everybody understand this? It's a balance. You read books and you sit with the ulama. You sit with the ulama and you read books. You read books to the Everybody understand this? It's both. Everybody clear on this or not? Last but not least is the concept of sitting with the ulama. It's a very long discussion. The proper etiquettes, the do's, the don'ts, who to sit with, who to learn from, etc. How do you start off? What's important is the main obstacle right here is not being what? Self-taught. Not being what? That is a major pitfall. Who's going to correct your reading? Look at the book we just read. If I didn't point out that the mistake, you wouldn't have known that mistake. Everybody understand this? So you have to have someone who's teaching you. Have to have someone who's what? Last but not least, the last thing we'll mention here is that if you don't have a teacher and you are self-taught, it doesn't mean that everything you say is wrong and you're going to make mistakes. It doesn't mean that. You may be smarter than the person who actually sat with ulama. This is the reality of life. You may be better than him. It's the reality. You may have been more sincere. You may have read 10 times more when he was sleeping. You may ممكن قد حصلت أكثر مما حصل هو. Your memory may be stronger. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the Sahafi is automatically going to be a Mufti. La yalzam. But in most cases, that's how it's going to be. Everybody understand this? Also, know your place. Know your what? Know your place. I'm self-taught. I didn't study. I was not taught and trained properly. So therefore, someone who was taught and trained properly, I'm going to show respect to him and precedence to him. Everybody understand this? So as you can see briefly, is that we have extremism on the right and on the left. We have extremism. Don't read any books, just sit with the ulama. Don't sit with the ulama, just what? No. It's both wrong. There's a balance in the middle. And the author is not pointing to the right side of extremism, nor to the left. Everybody clear on this or not? The clear purpose of that, the dalil for that is, you say, how do you know that? Is the author himself wrote a to be read. To be what? So that can't be the maqsood of the author. Fahimna, that's common what? Sense. Khairan, inshallah ta'ala, just like we said with regards to what the Salaf said, and the ulama of the past said, not answering questions, not speaking, not giving fatwa, so on and so forth. That's one statement. What did the brother say, Samir? He said Abu Sufyan al-Thawri. Not Sufyan al-Thawri, Abu Sufyan al-Thawri. Huh? So that statement right there, don't do any classes. I come back to Canada, I'm not going to do no classes because Abu Sufyan al-Thawri said. Wallah, I'm not making this up, it's not a joke. Brother said Abu Sufyan al-Thawri. Huh? Don't do anything for you, or is that the proper understanding of Sufyan al-Thawri's speech? That can't be the proper understanding of Sufyan al-Thawri's speech. Why? Because you in Canada know about Abu Sufyan al-Thawri. In other words, if he himself wasn't a scholar and a teacher and a writer and author, you wouldn't have what? So that's not the maqsood, aslan. فهمنا هذا فضلا عن كونه غير حجة. فضلا عن هذا. أنت عرفت؟ فضلا عن كلامه يقبل ويرد. ها؟ فضلا عن هذا. لكن من الفهم الصحيح والمحمل الحسن الصحيح أنه لم يقصد هذا. فهمتم؟ وعلى هذا فقس في أي مسألة من المسائل المتنازع فيها في هذا العصر وفي هذا المكان. مهم جدا يا إخوان. We will stop here and بإذن الله continue and finish tomorrow night. Hopefully we will start a little earlier if it's possible, maybe before Isha, and بإذن الله finish the book or come close to finishing the book. The way we can wrap up on Wednesday, and if not, then we'll do it on Tuesday and Wednesday as well. By the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we'll stop here. Briefly, if anyone has any questions about the class or about the book or just general questions, then we'll try to entertain some of them now, briefly. Bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyone who wishes to leave, it's late, you have to work tomorrow, you have to go to sleep, you have to eat, you can leave, there's no problem. La aib, there's no mushkila, I'm not going to get upset at you, no problem if it is late, okay? It's late, it's almost 10 o'clock. No problem if you wish to leave. Khairan inshallah. Are there any questions? Fadl Adam. Question says, with regards to seeking knowledge, won't be the best time to review. Won't be the best time for what? For recordings, to review your recordings or your notes. At different levels of review. Just like there are different levels of memory. Just like there are different levels of studying, different levels of researching. Some review is to be made daily, every day, every night. As soon as you get home, review the class notes because you have class tomorrow. And the teacher's going to ask you about that, or you want to know it. Pass it on, tweet it, write it, give it, spread it. And there's some notes in which you don't necessarily need to review. You write down the notes to preserve the knowledge, to keep it on the shelf whenever you need it. Everybody clear on this? Whenever you what? Whenever you need it. And there's certain things that you only need to review for an exam, for an evaluation. There may be certain things that you don't necessarily need. You don't necessarily what? Need. But it's a part of an evaluation process to become certified. Everybody clear on this? It's different times, different types. What's important is you have to have a balance between study time and review time. 50-50, 60-40, that's going to depend on you. Everybody clear on this or not? That depends on what? On you. And also depends on how strong your memory is. If your memory is really strong and really good, obviously you don't have to review as much. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is you have a good, strong memory. The more you practice, it only makes you better. And the best masters of any art are those who practice the most and the hardest. They practice the most and the what? And the hardest. They rehearse. They practice. Their way is a polished, finely sharpened sword that's already been forged. And it's polished, it's sharpened, it's signed. It's a work of art. And it's also a dangerous instrument of killing. Everybody understand this? Practice, review. Nurun ala nur. Light upon light. You get better and better and better and better. Keep teaching, keep reviewing until the knowledge becomes impossible to forget. And Allah knows best. Fadal, Omar. Type question says, what books do you recommend with regards to memorizing of the etiquettes of seeking knowledge, and is listening to the audio of the ulama the same as sitting with them? As far as what books, then I would initially say what I mentioned being theoretical. And the practical advice I would give you now is to memorize the ahadith regarding talab al-ilm wa fadl al-ilm. Or a manzuma, a poem on talab al-ilm, adab talab al-ilm. Or a simple, small, mukhtasar book. Or at least the points from the book. The points, these awaiq. But to memorize this whole book or try to memorize this whole book with this speech and that speech, it's not necessarily something we nansah we would recommend with. Clearness? So for example, mathalan, the book, let's take the smallest, simplest book, like Hilyat Talib al-Ilm. If you have the ability to memorize that book by Sheikh Bakr, ni'ma shay hada. That's awesome. But how many people can memorize a book like that? How it's set up, how it's structured. You can memorize 1,000 hadiths, and it can be easier and simpler. Memorize the entire Quran. It's easier and simpler than memorize a book in which it's qala fulan, this, that. It's not the same. Clear on this or not? Bidna subhanahu wa ta'ala. So find a small, short book that you feel is easiest to memorize. Or even better than that, is taking the summarized books that have been taught and explained, you writing them down, the points, and make your own mukhtasar. Your own what? No. I'm looking for a specific word. Your own what? Manual. Your own what? Your own manual. And then you memorize it. Sheikh Abdul Karim al-Huraira and others will always say this. A talib al-ilm should make his own summary. Make your own mudhakkira. Put your own pocket notebook, what? Together. Something that I wrote, I summarized it. I don't need that. I don't need this, but I do need this. Everybody clear on this? That's also a very important etiquette as well. As far as just sitting with your ulama in person, the same as listening to them online. Yes and no. Yes and no. Obviously, the information that you get in the video or the audio is no different than the information of the one who's sitting right there that can see the sheikh's foot. It's the same sawt. قال المؤلف قال المؤلف. Clear on that or not? It's the same. لا يختلف. And it doesn't make any sense what I'm saying. It's not the same. No, it is the same from that aspect. It's the same amount of knowledge. Where it's different, obviously, listening to a record is not like going to a live concert. It's not the same. Is music permissible? We're not even making a mithal. Okay, an example. Anyone who's ever, he knows this, okay? Listening to a record is not the same as what? A live performance. The energy, the feel is night and day. See someone perform live is not like what? It's total difference. So you meeting someone in person, sitting with someone in person, meeting someone in person, the effects that it has on you, how you feel, it's incomparable. It can't describe it in words. Everybody understand this? Point number 3, or the second point why it's different, is that there may be things that are said before the class or after the class which are not recorded. Third point, as is also mentioned, and this is you can argue over this point, is the akhlaq and the adab of the sheikh. You can see the sheikh on TV. You can see him on YouTube sitting. An ignorant person comes up to him, grabs him in the Prophet's masjid. Sheikh, tell me this right now. وَقَدْ رَأَيْنَا هَذَا. We've seen this in the Prophet's masjid. 400 students, 300 students, a pool of students, hadith students from all over the world, and an old Bedouin nomad man, or an old man on Hajj from Egypt comes up, kicks everybody, moves everybody out the way, stumbling over everybody, and walks up to Sheikh Abdul Muhsin and asks him a question, just like that, in front of hundreds of people. Everybody understand this? Did the Sheikh get angry, sit down, shut up, get out of here, anta musbil izaraka? You're this, you're that. Who do you sit with in your country? He didn't say any of these things. Sit down, listen to him, and talk to him. And there were also other times we saw people, actually things like that were said. And one man came in the haram, and he came up to Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abad, and he was arguing about the points of the dhikr beads, or the zikr beads, the rosaries, the sabha. Huh? Is the dhikr beads, are they permissible or not? We're not here to discuss that. Is it a bid'ah or not? We're not here to discuss that. We're trying to here to prove a point. So the man came with a totally full cup. He came with pre-assumptions and useless information. He started arguing with the sheikh, the dhikr beads. Why don't you have dhikr beads? Dhikr beads. Tell your students to have dhikr beads, etc. So then his sheikh was like, la, 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 la. You know, everyone know, I would say Sheikh al-Muslim, know how he uses his fingers and how he talks. La, I'm okay, no, just like that. So the man, he didn't listen. So he started arguing. And he claimed that al-Hafidh ibn Hajar, rahimahullah, used to use dhikr beads. Okay? Did he or did he not? That's what he said. Hafidh ibn Hajar used to use sabha. Sheikh Abdul Muhsin, yes, says, Hafidh ibn Hajar used to use dhikr beads. He said, naam. He said, uskut, uskut. He didn't tell him, shut up, be quiet. Don't talk anymore. Everybody understand this? So that's something that may not be on the tape. And you learn how the alim deals with a jahil, and how the alim deals with another jahil. He's jahil too, but he has a what? Fuqah. It's a different story now. You're coming, debating, and thinking you're a scholar. Okay, it's a different story. It's not the same as the one who just doesn't know. He's jahil. He came on Hajj on a boat. He doesn't know. His first time on an elevator. Wallah, we've seen people scared of elevators. First time they've ever been on an elevator in their lives. They don't know nothing. It's not the same as someone's coming to argue or wishes to show his muscles, like many people they do. Yeah, Sheikh, kada and kada and kada. They stick out their chests. That's a part of the full cup ideology as well. Huh? No, don't come like that. So certain things you can't get on a recording. Clear on that? Let alone the fact that you are privileged to certain things being with the Sheikh. You see how he walks. Not saying that his walk is a hujjah, because that's extreme as well. I won't drink. Some brothers, wallahi, in Philadelphia, years ago, when they heard there was a scholar in Medina that never drank cold water. They didn't know why he didn't drink cold water, whether it's a health reason, Quran. They said, Sheikh Fulan doesn't drink cold water, I'm not going to drink cold water anymore. And these brothers that were abusing their wives, beating their wives to a pulp. But Sheikh Fulan doesn't drink, mad bad it. So I'm going to what? For him to him. The Sheikh's walk, his talk is not a hujjah, but it is a role model. And sometimes you need someone in person to be your what? Role model. So sometimes sitting with the ulama and listening to the recording is the what? Same. Sometimes listening to the ulama and listening to the recording is totally different. And sometimes not absolutely totally different, but it's naqas. You just lose out on it. But it doesn't mean, and this is extreme as well, that you can't benefit from the recordings of the people of knowledge. How many tapes of Sheikh al-Albani have I personally listened to? I never met Sheikh al-Albani. He died when I was in high school. I was in the 9th grade when he passed away. But from the aspect of his ilm, his legacy, his thought, his debates and arguments, I feel like I've benefited from him as the one who's sitting on the sofa drinking tea with him. And how many people who lived in Jordan that never truly benefited what? From Sheikh al-Albani. Or Sheikh ibn Uthaymeen. How many books did he explain in the tapes? Alhamdulillah, we listen to them. Benefit from them. Huh? I never met Sheikh ibn Uthaymeen or Ibn Baz or many other scholars. So you can benefit from tapes. You can. There's no more tapes. I'm a bit old-fashioned, sorry. In my day, when I first started, it was actual what? Tapes. You had a pencil. If it ripped, you taped it back up. There was no 200 gigs on an iPad. Unlimited power, huh? There was no unlimited power back then. Lie. You can download whatever you want. High-speed internet, live stream. It was none of that back then. You had to go to the tape store. You had to spend money. And you had to buy a big, heavy, cumbersome box of tapes. Take it back to your apartment, put it in the radio, and listen to it. They were MP3s, things like this, but it wasn't like, it was like a luxury. It was like a what? It's a luxury to have internet. You had to go out and call your family at a call cabin. It's a reality. And wallahi, those tapes that we listen to, only Allah knows how much knowledge we benefited from those tapes. Mallahu bihi alim. So what's important is that you work hard and that you're diligent and you use whatever you can. If you benefit from Sheikh ibn Uthaymeen's sharh of al-Aqidah al-Wasitiyah, khalas, alhamdulillah. If you have the ability to study dirasa nidhamiyah, formal study in which is a classroom, then that's what you should do as well. And most importantly is to do this and to do that. Even when you're in Medina, you study with Sheikh Abdul Muhsin, you go home to your apartment and you listen to the tape of Albani. You listen and you benefit in person. You mix. You study in the library, you sit with ulama, you read, you listen to other scholars, other classes. It's a combined arms element. And it isn't just one way and one thing. La abadan. Clear on this? Wallahu alam. If there are any other questions, if there aren't any questions, we will stop here. Jazakumullahu khairan. Allah Azza wa Jalla surely knows best. Thank you very much. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.